back in town. And
I would think
as usual, it's a fashion question. What will he be wearing? The purple and the gold, I expect.
It is the purple and gold of the Los Angeles Kings. Tonight, the Los Angeles Kings come to the Cap Center. It's a homecoming for a number of Capitals, including, by the way, Al Jensen, who will be the goaltender for the LA Kings. Bobby Carpenter, now a member of the Kings, having been traded to Los Angeles last week by the Rangers. Standing by live at the Cap Center, Bobby Carpenter, always a friend. Bobby, your travel agent must be saying, thanks for the good business, but what's going on here? I would imagine you were a little surprised when Esposito said, Bobby, it's off to L.A.
Yeah, I think I was very surprised. But, you know, in this game, you never can tell what's going to happen, so you always have to be prepared.
How do you feel about going to L.A. from the New York Rangers? The Rangers, of course, you know, Bobby, one of those historical teams. You feel prestige when you put on the Ranger jersey. What is your feeling right now?
I was a little disappointed at first. I think it was just more shock than disappointment. But then going to L.A., it's a good place to play. I think that every player sometime in their career would like to have a chance to play there. I think it was a little early in my plans, but I think that it's good to be able to go there now, and you know, you just have to make a new start of it. It could have been a lot worse. I could have went somewhere that I didn't really want to go, but since going there, that it could be good for me.
Bobby, you know, you get traded. Everybody understands that in professional sports, a trade or a part of the game. What is your feeling, though, to go to a team? Now, you say, you know, it's a little bit early in your career. A lot of guys say when they get to be 30, they'd like to go to L.A. so they can retire by playing golf on the off days. What must it be like where you go to a city where the fans, and I remember this from having been with the Islanders, the fans just really don't turn on to hockey?
No, I think it's good in a way and it's bad in a way. I think everyone really likes to play in a hockey city, but then it can be a lot of pressure in a big city like that. A lot of people know a lot about the game. Going out there, you have the best of both worlds. You get pretty good crowds, and then you know, when you get away from the game, you can get away from it. I think there's times now where you just don't want to be around hockey 24 hours a day, and there you can escape from it and get your thoughts together.
Bobby, you almost asked my next question. That is to get your house together. Now, be honest with me, man. You scored 50 goals. You were on top of the world. You were on the cover of magazines. Last year was not your greatest year. What is it going to take for Bobby Carpenter to get his house together where he gets back to that 50-goal type performance?
Well, I think that next year will be good for me. I think that the Canada Cup coming up have a good chance to get in shape, not take too much time off in the summer, and I think that just going to have to work extremely hard over the summer. You know, you kind of get complacent at certain times that you think that you don't have to work as hard as you did before, and then things like this happen to you, and I think it happens in everyone's career. But you know, I was ready to go this year again, and some certain things happened, so now I just have to just wait another year and start all over again.
When you came back to town, I had a chance to talk to you right before you faced the Caps for the first time. You said, there'll be some cheers, there'll be some boos. There weren't too many cheers. What do you think the fans will feel like tonight saying, hey, you know, that's kind of tough to get traded twice in 60 days?
Well, they'll really take advantage of this one.
You really think so?
I don't know. It's tough to play, I guess, in situations like that, but hey, tough times don't last forever. Tough people do.
Tough people. Bobby, are you still tough? Is your heart still in it, or are you ready to say, hey, the heck with this, there's got to be something else?
George, I'm only 23 years old. I got 12 years left in this game. I'm not giving up now.
I know. I shouldn't even probably have asked that. I want to ask you one last thing.
Yeah.
If it could happen, would you ever go to the Jerry Buss and say, Jerry, do me a favor. Let me go play for Hartford or the Boston Bruins. That's where my heart is.
Would I ever do that? I can't say ever. You don't ever say never in this game. But right now, no. I think it's good for me to get out here. I think it's good for me to get out east, to get away. I mean, get out west, away from everything out east. I think that in New York, it was close to home. It was tough to play. There's always friends hanging around. I think out here now, it's all you have to do is concentrate on hockey. There is nothing else.
Bobby, I know that it's tough to get traded. I know it's also a little tough to come stand out by the Capitals locker room to do an interview. I appreciate it. I thank you for your time. I hope that all goes well for you. And I hope that the toughness inside of Bobby Carpenter that got you 50 goals a couple of years ago will come back through for you.
It will. I guarantee it.
All right, Bobby. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Bobby Carpenter, traded from the Rangers to the Los Angeles Kings, joining us here on Live at 5. And I want to mention that it is very tough for that young man. I want you all to know this. He is standing about 20 feet away from the Capitals locker room. The last person he wanted to see at this time was Coach Brian Murray or any of the other guys. It's very tough for him to come back, so I really just want him to know, and I want the fans to know.
Bobby Carpenter skated out onto the Capitol Center ice in his third different uniform in this 1986-87 National Hockey League season. Now wearing the uniform of the Los Angeles Kings, Bobby Carpenter, the former #1 draft choice of the Washington Capitals, leading his Los Angeles Kings teammates onto the Capitol Center ice in only his second game as a member of the Los Angeles Kings. Sports presents the Capitals Report. Tonight, live from the Capitol Center, it's the Washington Capitals and the Los Angeles Kings. The Caps with 6 wins and a tie in their last 10 start host the LA Kings, who tonight begin the first of a 6-game road trip. Now, the road has not been very good for the Los Angeles Kings of late. They have lost 9 straight and are winless in their last 10 games, although things a little bit different against the Washington Capitals. A win here earlier on in the season. In fact, the Kings have won both previous games. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jeff Rimmer, and welcome to Capitals Report. Preceding tonight's contest between Bobby Carpenter and the LA Kings, also a couple of other former members of the Washington Capitals and the Los Angeles Kings fighting for a playoff spot out west. Of course, the Capitals fighting for a playoff spot in their final, jockeying for position in the very, very tough Patrick Division. A busy night of the National Hockey League and an important game here tonight for the Washington Capitals. And to kind of set the stage for us this evening on what should be an entertaining hockey game, we head to the other side of the rink, and joining us there, Mike Fornes and Al Koken. Gentlemen.
Okay, Jeff, thanks very much. And I guess if we're going to billboard this program by talking about Bobby Carpenter and the Los Angeles Kings, we really would have to include Tiger Williams' name as well, because only minutes ago, just as we were getting set up to do this down here, we had an unusual incident at the other end of the ice where some fans, I think, must have been getting on Bob Carpenter because their shouts and their taunts got to be so loud that Tiger Williams of the Kings picked up a puck and threw it into the crowd. And when the fan picked up the same puck and threw it back, Tiger climbed the boards. He had one leg over the glass and was ready to go into the crowd before Capitol Center security came back and restrained the fan and restrained Tiger Williams. Now, Tiger Williams is not the guy you want to mess with on or off the ice, but at the same time, was that something that it looked to you happened just in defense of something said to Bobby Carpenter, or was somebody after Tiger?
Well, we couldn't hear it clearly, but what I was able to hear is what you mentioned earlier, fans really getting on Bob Carpenter and using some very abusive language. One thing to boo, one thing to scream and yell at him, but when you start cursing at a guy, you know, that's really hitting below the belt. And I can see where you got a guy like Tiger Williams who will stand up for his teammates on the ice, says he might as well do the same thing off the ice as well.
Let's talk about the rivalry in more rational terms now. Once the game gets going, Bobby Carpenter's reception here tonight will not be a good one.
No, it was proven when he came back twice with the Rangers, the fans were ready for him. And Carpenter made some statements that you can understand why the fans would be upset. Thought he didn't show a lot of class when he left town in the manner he did. But he is now in his 3rd uniform of the years we mentioned, and I'm sure the fans are really going to give it to him again to try and rub that psychological edge the Capitals' way and put that knife in a little further.
Just taking a look at Carpenter there as he skates around, he really looks different in a Los Angeles Kings uniform, but in watching the warm-up, the thing I'm having trouble getting used to is seeing that Kings emblem out on the ice and not seeing Marcel Dionne skate around.
Well, we know now a little more about the trade. When it was first made, we both expressed surprise that the Kings would make that deal right now with the playoffs coming up, but apparently Alan Eagleson, the agent for Marcel Dionne, started to put a little pressure on Rogie Vachon and the Kings ownership, saying he wanted to demand a contract renegotiation and wanted to get it done before the season ended. The Kings called the bluff, made a trade with the New York Rangers and Phil Esposito taking Marcel Dionne. So the Kings obviously pick up a lot of years. I still am a firm believer that Bob Carpenter will turn things around. It's going to have to be next year because his mind just has to be totally scrambled right now. But in getting Marcel Dionne, the New York Rangers have a very potent attack now on the power play, which was already a good power play to begin with. And the LA Kings are going to miss that leadership on the ice because he really made that team go.
Okay, I'm sure Jeff Rimmer will be talking about the Patrick Division standings a bit later on tonight. They haven't gotten any further apart. Things are still very tight, very close, and the Capitals, coming off victories over the Toronto Maple Leafs and a tie with the St. Louis Blues, certainly can use 2 points here tonight. Let's go back to Jeff right now.
Thanks, Mike, and you're absolutely right. The standings very, very much up in the air here. Less than 3 weeks to go in the regular season. And let's start off because there are still a number of playoff spots, not only in the Patrick Division, but in some of the other divisions up for grabs. Of course, we start in the Patrick Division, where the Philadelphia Flyers have a comfortable lead, but the Islanders just 2 points ahead of the Rangers. Islanders losing last night up in Montreal, 3-0 to the Canadiens. The Rangers tonight also in action. We'll get to that game in a minute. The Capitals 1 point behind the 3rd place Rangers. The Penguins only 4 back of the Washington Capitals. We move on to the Adams Division, where the Hartford Whalers starting to open up some distance between themselves and the rest of the division. The Canadiens, with a big win last night, have moved 3 points ahead of Boston. Quebec now back into 4th place, 2 points ahead of Buffalo. The Sabres in action tonight. Over in the Norris Division, the Red Wings continue to lead that division. The Blues coming on, and an impressive performance with the Blues and the Caps this past Saturday night. Minnesota and Chicago also playing tonight. And as you can see, Toronto not out of the playoffs by any stretch of the imagination. And finally, in the Smythe division, you've got the Calgary Flames, one of the hottest teams in the National Hockey League. Just a few short days ago, closing in on the Oilers, but the Oilers now with 6 straight victories, starting again to pull away. Winnipeg just 4 back of Calgary, and the Los Angeles Kings, the visitors here tonight, looking to stay ahead of the Vancouver Canucks, who themselves have come on of late. Now let's take a look at the National Hockey League out-of-town scoreboard, our Stroh scoreboard tonight, and it's a busy night in the NHL. The Rangers at the Philadelphia Flyers tonight at the Spectrum. It's their 3rd meeting inside a week. The Rangers would like to avenge a loss at Madison Square Garden this past Sunday. New Jersey at Edmonton, the Devils, for all intents and purposes, out of the playoff picture. The Oilers on a roll right now. They'd like to continue rolling in that Smythe division. Boston at Detroit. The Red Wings continue to lead the Norris division. They'd like to stay there. The Bruins fighting it out of the Adams division, jockeying for a better home ice advantage in the playoffs. Big game tonight at the Joe Louis Arena. Buffalo and Calgary, the Flames, as we said earlier, one of the hottest teams in the National Hockey League, have got to be hot tonight against the Sabres, now 2 points back of the Nordiques in that fight for the 4th playoff spot in the Adams division. And here's a dandy tonight, Chicago at Minnesota. The North Stars coming off a big win on the weekend, despite a 51 shot against performance. Don Beaupre coming up very big. The Blackhawks trying to stay in that playoff hunt. They've got a big one tonight at the Metropolitan Center in Bloomington. And Quebec at Vancouver. The Nordiques continue on that western swing. The Canucks still very much alive in the playoffs in that Smythe division. They'd like to win this one at home. So a big night in the National Hockey League, and we've got a big one here tonight at the Capitol Center. Bob Mason will start in goal. The Caps against the LA Kings. Home team sports, the Washington Capitals and the Los Angeles Kings concluding their pregame skate. It should be a pretty interesting hockey game. Both these clubs jockeying for final playoff positions. And of course, the Capitals have won 5 of their last 6 starts here on home ice. The LA Kings winless in their last 9 road starts. They've lost them all. In fact, they're winless in 10 with just a tie to show in those last 10 road starts. They're starting a crucial road trip tonight. And one thing going for the Los Angeles Kings, they have won both their previous meetings with the Washington Capitals. Good evening, everyone. I'm Jeff Rimmer. Welcome back to Capitals Report. And our pleasure to welcome Kevin Allen of USA Today, the hockey beat writer for USA Today. And he joins us tonight to discuss the National Hockey League and specifically the Los Angeles Kings and the Washington Capitals. Kevin, first of all, welcome to Home Team Sports. First question, the Kings coming to town with a new flavor, obviously. Bobby Carpenter comes back in his 3rd uniform. But this is a different hockey club without Marcel Dionne.
Oh, absolutely. I think that everyone was seeing Monday night, they were saying there wasn't going to be much trade action. And then Tuesday morning, there was a blockbuster of it. Actually, it was Tuesday afternoon. I think a lot of people were surprised. But like you said, 2 teams now have completely different flavors. The New York Rangers got the player they felt they needed in the playoff drive. And the Kings got Bobby Carpenter, who they hope will be the center of the future.
What could you tell us went on behind the scenes in this trade? There were obviously many eyebrows raised, and now comes word that Alan Eagleson played a pivotal role in making the trade happen. And we've learned since that Lou Nanne thought he had Bob Carpenter. In fact, he had a deal worked out with Phil Esposito. Lo and behold, Lou gets a call back from Phil. He's not going to trade Carpenter. And then a couple of hours later, he's on his way to the Los Angeles Kings. How much of a shot did Carpenter have in going to Minnesota?
Well, I think that it was Lou Nanne thought it was in the bag. I talked to him Monday night. He said he was on the verge of making a big deal. He wouldn't say who was going, but he indicated that he was going to get Carpenter. Then Tuesday, apparently that deal fell through. Esposito said we're not going to trade him. Rogie Vachon woke Phil up out of bed about 11:30 at night, offered him Dionne. It was the type of player Phil Esposito just couldn't resist, even though he had to give up the price of Tom Laidlaw and Bobby Carpenter. And the key, I think, for the Kings was it was Carpenter. I talked to Coach Larry Murphy this morning, and he said he felt that Carpenter had as much skill as, say, Mark Messier. And if he believes that, it's obvious why they made the trade.
Can you tell us who Minnesota was willing to part with to get Bobby Carpenter into their uniform of the North Stars?
Well, Lou wouldn't say, though I suspect it was Gordie Roberts was one of the players involved. He's been trying to move Gordie for a long time. Gordy, at one point, I thought was going to go to the Calgary Flames, but that didn't happen. And I'm sure he was involved in the package, but I wouldn't even want to speculate on what other forwards were involved.
301-350-7852 is the number. This is Capitals Report. Kevin Allen of USA Today is our guest. If you'd like to join in with your questions and comments, we'd like to hear from you. 301-350-7852. All right, let's talk in terms of maybe some of the other trades that did not happen. And I understand there was all kinds of discussion, and the Capitals themselves were involved. Yet very few trades, aside from the blockbuster, completed just before that trade deadline now a week ago.
Well, I think probably the trades, the biggest ones that weren't made, the Pittsburgh Penguins were looking for a big right winger. They didn't get it, obviously. They looked several places. They looked at Calgary. That didn't materialize. I think they've talked to them for a couple of months. They've been looking for someone to complement Mario Lemieux. He needs a big, strong right winger. I think they've only got 15 or 16 goals out of that whole right side, out of all three lines there. Also, everyone was interested, believe it or not, in Joe Murphy, the Red Wings #1 draft choice. The Red Wings have soured on him. He's had a lot of trouble down in the Adirondack. He was recently suspended for 3 games. The Montreal Canadiens made a big pitch for him, as well as the Calgary Flames. The Montreal Canadiens supposedly wanted to give up Stéphane Richer, who they've had some problems with. Now, as far as any of the other trades go, like I said, Lou Nanne was probably the busiest. He felt he was in trouble over there.
He always is.
Yes, he always is. He and Phil Esposito probably spend more time on the phone than anybody. But, you know, he felt that he needed a center. Broughton was hurt. He lost Ron Wilson. He was looking for his defenseman, and then he didn't know at that point how long Hartsburg was going to be out. And he was looking to make a lot of deals, and I think he was a little bit disappointed that he was only made a couple of minor ones. In fact, he was so desperate that at one point he called Edmonton and asked if he could get Kent Nielsen back.
Jack from Fairfax, you're on Home Team Sports with Kevin Allen of USA Today. Good evening.
Good evening, sir. How you doing?
Fine, thank you.
My question is concerns like every April we seem to get there, we can't seem to get over that hump. I would like to put this question and kick it around, if you may. Is it the goaltending? Is it a goal scorer? I mean, what does the Caps need, or what do they need to put together to get through April, to get into the playoffs and get themselves motivated? We seem to see it every year that they just seem to die right. They get there and then they die.
Well, I wouldn't say they died. Last season, I think the Washington Capitals had one of their, obviously their finest year. 107 points for the second consecutive season. What hurt the Capitals, though, that I think once they won that first series and gained the confidence that obviously they would get by beating the New York Islanders in straight games, they went into that Rangers series perhaps looking beyond the Rangers. The Rangers, of course, beating the Philadelphia Flyers. What you need going for you, though, obviously, with the tight checking in the playoffs, you need the goaltending, but you've got to get those goals in key situations. Obviously, the scores are a little bit lower in the playoffs. The checking tightens up considerably, but you've got to get those goals at the right time, Kevin.
Oh, absolutely. And I think you hit it on the head. I mean, the key is obviously goaltending. And you see a guy like Johnny Van Beesbroek, the Capital fans know what he can do. I mean, if you get that great goaltending in the playoffs, you can go a long way.
All right, Kevin from Camp Springs, you're on Home Team Sports. Good evening. Dave, excuse me.
Okay, I'd like to ask a question on, I've been to a lot of games, and I watch a lot of them on TV, and I don't understand how a face-off occurs. In other words, when we're shooting the puck towards the goal and it hits off a goalie's stick, I don't know whether I could be right about this, but sometimes it's inside our blue line, sometimes it's outside our blue line. What determines where the puck is going to be dropped? Thank you.
All right, obviously there's a face-off on a goal. That's the logical one. Every time there's a goal, when the puck goes out of play, there has to be a face-off, and depending on who fired the puck out of play, if it went in off a Washington Capital player and deflected up into the crowd, obviously the face-off, unless the goaltender stopped the puck, obviously the face-off is in the Washington end. If it's deflected out by a Washington player, again, it'll go into the neutral zone if it's cleared by a member of the Los Angeles Kings, for instance, tonight, up into the crowd. But there obviously are face-offs for many different situations, and I hope we've explained it to you very briefly so. Let's continue. All right, let's go to Fairfax. Good evening. You're on Home Team Sports. Hello.
Hello.
Go ahead, please.
I'd like to ask, Kevin, is that his name?
Absolutely, yes.
Yes. What kind of reception has Al Jensen had out in L.A., and how do the fans seem to like him, and how's he been doing out there? Because he did very well when he's here in Washington. And I'd just like to know if he's done as well out there or if he's playing a lot, because the paper here really doesn't cover too well on how he's been doing out there.
Well, I'm not sure what sort of fan reception he's had out there. I haven't been out there since the trade. I do know they have a surplus of goaltenders there, and he hasn't seen as much action, I'm sure, as he would like. And the time he was in there, he didn't have an outstanding performance. But I don't think that, you know, obviously they wanted him, or they liked him, or they wouldn't have gone out and got him. So I think he figures into their plans. I think it's crucial that next year he comes in and has a very good training camp.
301-350-7852. Got a few minutes left. Kevin Allen of USA Today is our pregame guest. Let's continue on those phone lines. All right, Washington, Pennsylvania, and Dennis, you're on Home Team Sports.
Oh, yes, hi. Hi, Jeff. I picked you up on the dish here. I really enjoy Home Team Sports.
Thank you.
I would like to. You think maybe there's something, since Bobby Carpenter, but I wish we would have got him, Pittsburgh Penguins. I'm about 30 miles south of it. But do you think there's something that Bobby Carpenter, besides, since he got traded twice, besides what we could see? You know, does he can't get along with the management or the players, or something that we can't see?
Well, I don't think it was a case of not getting along in New York. The situation there was obviously by the trade and all that Bobby perhaps had to say since the trade, or just in the days following the deal, that he put a little pressure on himself going into New York. And playing in New York at the best of times can be a very, very pressure-packed situation. Bobby Carpenter's a talented player, Kevin, but now he gets a chance to maybe get away a little bit from the limelight. Los Angeles is a big media center, but hockey's certainly taking a backseat to some of the other sports teams and sports situations on the West Coast, so he'll get a chance to find himself and regroup, because we're talking about a very talented hockey player.
Oh, absolutely. You could not have picked a better city for Bobby Carpenter to go to at this point in his career. Like you said, he was in the media hub there. He was under the spotlight. He had been involved in a big trade. Now he goes out to L.A., where hockey is not king. They don't receive a whole lot of attention, and maybe he can rediscover his game, because like you said, he has had a tremendous amount of talent. For some reason he hasn't exhibited in the last couple of seasons, so maybe out there with a change of attitude and a new team, that will help him.
Certainly Bobby's a talented player. He had differences obviously here in philosophy for the Washington Capitals. He was traded, then you see a Miller come in here, and you see a Ridley come in and perform as well as they have. That even brought a little bit more pressure onto the Bobby Carpenter situation in the Big Apple. 301-350-7852. Chris from Newport News, you're on. Good evening.
Good evening. My question is on the last game that was televised, the Caps against the Maple Leafs.
Toronto, yes.
There was the coach for them, John Brophy. There used to be a team in Hampton called the Gulls, and his name sounded familiar. I was wondering if you knew if he was involved in their management.
Yeah, he's a veteran of the Eastern Hockey League. In fact, when those two back-to-back major penalties were called, many people referring back to Brophy's days in the Eastern Hockey League. He was, I guess maybe we'd call him a policeman back in his Eastern Hockey League days, and maybe a couple of those shots that were taken by the Leafs in the closing minutes out of frustration, but many people paralleling that to the style of play of a John Brophy back in his playing days.
Yeah, I think that he came here with a certain reputation. I think people are surprised basically that the Maple Leafs really don't play the style that Brophy had in his olden days.
Perry from Waldorf, good evening. You're on Home Team Sports.
Hi, how you doing? I think you'll do a fine job. And
thank you.
I think the Capitals made out real well in the Carpenter trade. The question I have is when are the Capitals going to go out and get them a top-notch goaltender that can carry them further in the playoffs? The two they have, I don't think can do the job. Thank you very much.
Well, I think Bob Mason's proved that he deserves to be a goaltender on this Washington Capitals varsity based on his play this year. He's had certainly some highs and some lows, but I think Bob Mason has proved, remember, we're talking about a rookie goaltender for all intents and purposes in the National Hockey League, and the Capitals' improved play of late, I think, can be directly parallel to the performance of Pete Peters in goal. Now, the question is, can Pete Peters maintain that level of consistency in the playoffs? If Pete can put his best foot forward in the playoffs, the Caps, I think Kevin can go a long way.
Oh, I think so. You know, I think also that the problem, a little bit of the problem with the Capitals goaltenders is that they're in a division where goaltending is very, very good. You know, there's Hextall in the division. The Rangers have two very fine goaltenders. The Islanders have two goaltenders. I think probably part of their problem is that everyone else looks at the other outstanding goaltenders and thinks they don't measure up. But they really are solid goaltenders.
All right, Kevin Allen, our guest of USA Today, thank you for joining us and for visiting with us here tonight on Home Team Sports. Kevin will receive a beautiful Seiko watch from LR Jewelers, locations in Maryland, D.C., and Virginia. And again, we, during our Capitals report, provide you with some expert insight into the game of hockey. And tonight's subject, discussing goals, legal and the illegal variety. And joining us right now, Al Koken and Mike Florence. part of the success of the Washington Capitals. 3.5 months ago, the Capitol Center fans let the 23-year-old center iceman know their feelings as he demanded to be traded from the Washington organization. On January 1st, Carpenter was traded to the New York Rangers, where he scored only 2 goals with 8 assists in 28 games. Last week, he was dealt again, this time to the LA Kings. Tonight, Bobby Carpenter returns to the Capitol Center wearing his 3rd uniform of the season. And it's all next, right here on Home Team Sports.
Team Sports presents the National Hockey League. Tonight from the Capitol Center, it's the Los Angeles Kings and the Washington Capitals. Tonight's game is brought to you by Stroh's Beer and Stroh Light. Now you're talking good times, and Stroh's is spoken here. By All-Star Dodge, Maryland's #1 Dodge retailer with 5 locations to serve you. And by your local area Subaru dealers. Subaru, inexpensive and built to stay that way. The Washington Capitals come into this game needing 2 big points, and they'll have to face the Los Angeles Kings, who should make the playoffs in the Smythe division by default, yet they own the series over the Caps, winning the 2 previous meetings. Good evening, everybody, and happy St. Patrick's Day to you. Mike Forens along with Al Koken here tonight. The Caps and the Kings for meeting number 3, and the Kings have done a number in both previous games against the Washington Capitals. 1 here and 1 out at the Forum in L.A.
Where they've beaten the Capitals is with pure offensive talent. Remember, they had Marcel Dionne at that time. Dionne is gone. Bob Carpenter in his 3rd uniform, playing now with the L.A. Kings. The Capitals will have to play tight defense. L.A., even without Dionne, can still score plenty of goals.
How will they do with Carpenter, and how much of Dionne's role do you think they're expecting Carpenter to pick up?
They can't imagine Carpenter really doing the role of the great playmaker that Dionne, because he was not that type of player. But they are not going to make Bob Carpenter play a great deal of defense, because really nobody on the forward lines in terms of their big scores has to play much defense. They just go for goals, and I think that is the sort of situation that will help Bob Carpenter maybe shake this season-long slump.
Right now, let's check in with Jeff Rimmer, who's standing by downstairs with Capitals coach Brian Murray. Jeff?
Thanks, Mike. All the pregame hype involving Bobby Carpenter, but we look at Bobby Carpenter in this LA Kings lineup, a team that's beaten the Caps already twice this season, and they've got a little bit more than Bobby Carpenter.
Oh, they definitely have, Jeff. They have an excellent team. They scored 13 goals on us in 2 games. We had them 3-1 after 1 in Los Angeles. Certainly dominated the first period. They came out, went ahead of us in the second, got some great stops from Melanson, but they've got Erickson, they got Robitaille, they got Carson, they got Dave Taylor. They've got a lot of people that can put the puck in the net, and certainly one more guy eventually will help them, but tonight there's a good lineup for the Kings.
You're going with Bob Mason tonight. I guess the key is now the playoffs in less than 3 weeks from now. In fact, they begin 3 weeks tomorrow night. The idea is to have both goaltenders at the top of their game.
Well, hopefully that would happen. Bob sat for a while. He came back and played pretty good in the second and third period, in particular the other night. We want him to play. We want him to play a little bit down the stretch, whether it be 5 games or 8 games or 2 games. I'm not sure, but if he plays well, he will be ready. He will get a chance to play other games.
Thanks, Brian. Good luck tonight.
All right, Jeff. Thank you.
Caps coach Brian Murray. Let's head to the other side of the ice once again and rejoin Mike and Al. Gentlemen?
Okay, Jeff, thanks very much. Bobby Carpenter with another change of uniforms, and as we mentioned, just before the game started, before warm-up even tonight, there was a little incident along the glass, and I think it was directed at Bobby Carpenter from the fans.
Fans were really yelling at him, and a bunch of them were screaming obscenities, which is a real Bush thing to do. Yell all you want, but when you start yelling like that, that's wrong. I don't know if it's going to bother Bob Carpenter. It seemed to bother him a bit when he was here with the Rangers. He's played one game for the LA Kings, picked up an assist. He's a -2 for that one game, but talking to the LA broadcasters, Nick Nixon and Bob Miller, they said he played a real strong game, had a lot of good chances. Maybe he finally will relax and in that open Smythe division start scoring some goals, which you know Bob Carpenter's capable of doing. Now, there was another guy who came out from the Rangers along with Carpenter in that deal for Dion, and that is Tom Laidlaw. Without Playfair, without Langevin in the lineup, the Kings need some big defensemen back there. Laidlaw can bang. Laidlaw can hit people when he wants to. Remember last year, the Rangers and the Capitals in the playoffs? He certainly did the job there. Here you see that little incident. Tom Laidlaw coming over there with Tiger Williams shooting a puck, then throwing a puck at a fan, the fan throwing the puck back at him, and Tiger trying to climb over the top to try and get at him. Good way to begin this game with a lot of emotion, huh?
Little did they know that's how they'd get on our baseball cards. The Caps have dealt directly with the Kings this year, trade-wise. Goaltender Al Jensen became a member of the Kings, and in return, Washington got Gary Galley, who has stepped in and I think played better on defense, helping the power play than perhaps we thought he would.
You know, that's the key, Mike. You talk about him playing on defense. The numbers on Gary Galley are solid offensively. He's got a goal and 7 assists in 12 games. He's done a good job on the power play. But after coming to the Kings where he was a -9, right now with the Capitals he is a +1. But when you want to talk about great defensive play as of late, you have to go with only one man, number 3, Scott Stevens. Named the NHL Player of the Week, maybe because of his offensive production, with 2 goals and 7 assists in the last 3 games. But he is playing outstanding defense. And when Scott plays this type of defense, doesn't gamble, doesn't get caught up ice, he is as good as almost any defenseman in the league. And when he plays this type of defense, that can only mean the Capitals are going to be a major factor in the Stanley Cup playoffs. He can really take them as far as they want to go.
We're all set now for the playing and singing of the national anthem.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the rampart we watched were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bomb bursting in air, gave proof through the night that a flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Our referee tonight is Mike Noeth. Linesman Pat DiPuzzo and Gord Brotziker will be working along with Mike. Roland Melanson is in goal tonight for Los Angeles. This is his 39th appearance. Former New York Islander and Minnesota North Star. Melanson 13, 18, and 6 on the year with a 3.56 goals against average and 1 shutout. He'll be backed up by former Capital Al Jensen. Bob Mason gets the call for Washington. This is his 41st outing of the season. 16, 18, and 5 on the year for Bob. 123 goals against, a 3.28 goals against average with no shutouts. Pete Peters will back him up. From the opening faceoff, the Capitals get the draw. We're underway. Right away, Stevens slaps it into the ankle of Mike Noeth, the referee. Back inside the King zone, Gartner along the boards has it driven back to center. And now Murphy shoots it back inside the Los Angeles zone. Off the boards, the Kings come out. Lead pass up the left wing side for Phil Sykes. He sends to Hardy, dumps it back into the corner. Now here's Ridley, jammed up with former Capital Butsy Erickson in the corner. Larry Murphy plays it off the boards, and Stevens gets to the blue line for Ridley. Tries to send it out. Now Murphy gets the job done, carries it out to center. Murphy sends it back inside the Los Angeles zone. Melanson plays it off the boards. At the point, here's Christian firing up high, and it's blocked by Melanson to the backboard. Now Dean Kennedy ties up Ridley behind the net. The puck kicked along. Christian has it from Ridley's kick. Christian back to center point, cuts down the middle, a shot, And a save made by Melanson. Rebound picked up by Stevens, cutting in from the point. Now Christian, another drive. That's played away by Dean Kennedy. Gartner goes to try and keep it in, but the Kings clear it all the way down. It'll be an icing call, and both teams will change up the forward line.
The Caps opened up strongly in St. Louis, and they almost got a goal here in the early going with David Christian making a great move around Bob Bourne. Finally gets it to the forehand side, but see how far out Rolly Melanson is. A lot of room behind him, but Melanson came out to challenge Christian to cut down the angle. Look at the way Christian just holds it with one hand, then when he breaks free, finally snaps a shot on. Melanson interfered with a bit by Mike Ridley, but is able to stand his ground long enough to make the save.
Missing from tonight's game for Los Angeles, Paul Gay, Joe Patterson, Dave Langevin, and Craig Redmond. The Washington Capitals, with John Barrett and Alan Haworth out with injuries. Barrett with a kneecap, Haworth the knee, Michael Pavanka's ankle, keeping him out to the point where he at least stated warm-up tonight, but will not play in the game, and John Blum sitting as the extra player. Kings come out now from their own zone. In across the blue line. Murphy blocks it free, but here's Williams, a slap shot that is wide of the net. Bobby Gould hustles out. Here's Gould to center. Directs it back inside the Los Angeles zone. Played off the boards now by Fox and sent out to center ice. Tiger Williams in across the blue line. Gould steals, gives to Langway. Here's Rod Langway up on the right wing to Bob Gould. His wrist shot blocked by Laidlaw. Now back off the corner boards. At the point, Francischetti's drive goes wide. He was looking for Gould at the side of the net. The Kings come out again. Bernie Nichols to center. Nichols gets across the line. Langway tries to tie him up. Nichols skates behind the goal. Now Langway over to Gary Galley. Here's Galley behind the net to Rod Langway. Back to Galley. Galley with Tiger Williams into forecheck. Gets frustrated back in the corner, and finally Langway just clears it up the boards to the point. Jay Wells keeps it in. The Kings mounting some pressure here in the Capital zone. Galley in to try and tie up. The puck worked free back to the backboard. Finally Tiger Williams scoots it along, and Nichols takes possession. He centers, but there's Bob Gould. He plays it ahead to Gaetan Duchesne. Duchesne sends it all the way down, and the Kings will have to bring it out. Both teams changing up lines on the fly. No score here in the first period. The boos are for Bob Carpenter, who has just stepped onto the ice to take his first shift. Here's Melanson to play it behind the net over to Jay Wells. Wells starts out to the point. Hatcher tried to keep it in, but the puck came out on the blue line and then was shot back in offside.
At Giant Food, you'll get warehouse grocery prices, weekly advertised bonus specials, half-price specials, and so much more, along with Giant's quality, selection, and service, too. Now that's value you can really trust. A look at Bob Carpenter in that purple and gold of the L.A. Kings, wearing number 21 for L.A. Out there now for the face-off. They've got Carpenter centering for Luc Robitaille on the left side, and Sean McKenna will be playing right wing. Brian Murray right now has his top line out there of Ridley, Christian, and Gartner to go against the Carpenter line.
Well, Bobby Carpenter is good at winning faceoffs, and he takes this draw for Los Angeles, brings it back to Wells. Out to Carpenter, and now here's Ridley with the steal. Ridley cuts in. He's jammed up against the corner boards there by Grant Ledyard. Back to the left point. Shot by Greg Smith trickles wide. The Kings try to clear the zone. It comes out to Carpenter, and he skates to center. 2-on-1 in on Greg Smith. Here's a wrist shot, and he fires it wide of the net. Back to the point. Kept inside the zone by Ledyard. Centered right in front. And Smith took Carpenter out of the play in front of the goal. Now here's Mark Hardy, a drive. That's blocked by Greg Smith. He brings it ahead to Mike Ridley. Out to Christian. Slap shot blocked off the boards, and the Kings come back out again. Dave Taylor now wearing the captain's C on his sweater. Here's Ridley taking it behind the net. Passes out to Dave Christian. Christian to center ice. Dean Kennedy will have to chase it back in. The Capitals get in a line change. Morris Lukowicz. Headmans to center. Dave Taylor tied up by Stevens. Finally, Kelly Miller breaks out. Starts to center, gets across the line. Backhands into the corner, and the delayed offside is waved off. The Kings can come out. Here's Dean Kennedy. Taylor up to center ice. Passes for Carson at the blue line. That play broken up, and Greg Adams now back for the Capitals. Inside the line. Tried to center. Here's Murphy back to the point. Scott Stevens has it. A wrist shot just wide. Greg Adams a drive. He fires wide from a bad angle. Now Murphy a shot. We have a penalty call coming up. A delayed call against Los Angeles. Out of the nets comes Bob Mason. The sixth attacker hops on the ice, but it's a cross-checking minor penalty against the Kings. And the Capitals are coming up with the game's first power play. There's a break in the action with the score, the Capitals nothing and the Kings nothing.
The power play, a cross-checking call to Mark Hardy. Watch in front of the net. Number 10, Kelly Miller, tries to get some position. Number 5, Mark Hardy, with a stick across the shoulders, knocks him down, and Mike Noeth makes the call. Washington with the man advantage. The Capitals, last time they were here, set a club record with 7 power play goals against the Toronto Maple Leafs. At that point, jumped from 21st ranked power play in the league up to 19th, and the 10th best power play at home after that 7th goal explosion.
Here's Dave Christian with the puck. Up to Scott Stevens at center, gets across the blue line. Flips back into the corner. The puck cleared out of the zone, and racing ahead on the right wing to get it is Sykes for Los Angeles. Phil Sykes tries to center, a collision, and Bourne crashes into goalkeeper Bob Mason, but the puck doesn't enter the net. And both players appear to be unhurt.
Talk about a guy who has killed the Washington Capitals this year, Bob Bourne. 5 of his 12 goals have come against Washington. Another good play by Scott Stevens. You see him dive out there, get the stick on the ice to prevent the pass through of the streaking Bob Bourne from Phil Sykes. That type of play has typified Scott Stevens' work on the ice over the past few weeks. Justifies why he was named NHL Player of the Week.
A minute 30 still left to go on the Washington power play. Hardy for cross-checking at 5:01. Here's Stevens, right side for Larry Murphy. Right side pass now for Christian as he cuts across the line. Christian sets it up. Gives it over to Mike Ridley. Ridley to Murphy, a slap shot. Hatcher was stationed in front of the goal, but he was taken out by Steve Duchesne. Now the puck cleared out to center ice, and Stevens is back to get it. Murphy across the blue line. Back into the corner. Laidlaw belts Murphy and drops him, and the puck cleared all the way down. Carpenter back out there now to help kill off the remaining 45 seconds on this Washington power play. Here's Murphy back to Stevens in the corner. He headmans for Gartner, but it's knocked up into the crowd by Carpenter's stick, and play is called. Fan holding up a Los Angeles Kings pennant. It's visible to our viewers on Home Team Sports, as well as the fans here in the Capitol Center who saw it on the telescreen, and that drew the first boo of the night that wasn't directed at Carpenter.
Carpenter is out there now, and you know, one thing that Bob Carpenter did on his first shift was go to the net a lot better than I had seen him most of the year. That has got to be his game. He's got to get in there and mix it up in front. That's where he scored those goals in his 53-goal season.
Another puck shot to the same area as the last one. And we'll have another face-off. This one outside the Washington blue line. Well, Al Jensen going with a little bearded look and getting a round of applause. His picture now visible on the telescreen, and you hear the applause in the background.
What a difference, huh? Got a guy who didn't say anything except he was happy to have his time in Washington when he left, and the fans respond with some polite applause. There's a couple signs in the building welcoming him back. Good luck, Al Jensen. One big sign says, just don't burn your bridges. That's the lesson.
Good for him. Hopefully he'll get a chance to play and feel a part of things with the Kings. Here's a pass ahead now for Lachlan. Lachlan goes to the corner. He's tied up. Well, remember, Al Jensen is a man who was always very cooperative with us as far as our broadcast coverage. Galley's drive goes wide, a shot, and a goal on the rebound off the backboard. The Capitals take a 1-0 lead.
Greg Adams found himself in a perfect spot. The hard shot by Gary Galley caroms perfectly to him. Watch to the right of your screen. You'll see number 22 will sneak into position right there, and he is in position to bat that rebound home as Melanson was still over on the other side of the net. Langway throws it to Galley, who unwinds with a drive, a one-time shot. Just wide, but Melanson still following the carom of the puck, cannot get his body turned around in time, and Greg Adams is there to put the Capitals on top.
That is Greg Adams' 7th goal of the season. Gary Galley and Rod Langway assisting at 6:59. Power play goal for the Capitals gives them a 1-0 lead. Puck frozen in the corner now and play is called. You could practice that play. Gary Galley just tried from the point all afternoon and never get it to work out just that way. Sometimes the puck will hit the baseboard and come off hard to the back of the net. It'll die in some rinks on the back of the net. But this one right to Greg Adams, and he was looking for it.
The one thing the Capitals have done on the power play recently is reestablish some dominance in front of the net and around that net area. And one of the guys to do it has got to be number 22, Greg Adams. He's got the size. He is one of the best guys in the National Hockey League at really interfering the goaltender. There's no question there are times when he does interfere the goaltender. But if he can get away with it, if he can pick his spots, he becomes most effective. And he was right around the goal there in that perfect spot.
Here's Duchesne working out to center ice. Throws it across the line. Gould tried to tip it loose in front, and right in front there was Jim Thompson, who would have easily shot that puck home. Out to center. Gould to Murphy. Left side now for Gaetan Duchesne. Steve Duchesne, no relation, gives Gaetan a run right up in front of the Kings bench. Puck's in off the glass to center, and this will get by Murphy and go all the way into the Washington zone. Murphy stops behind the net. Tiger Williams right in there on him. Kings with some aggressive forechecking here in this game, and Williams is the man who has shown us the best of it. Now back to Fox. Over to Wells. Jay Wells a drive, a save by Mason, and Williams right in front, trapping Mason to the ice. But the Capitals have possession. It's Murphy to center. It's across the line to Thompson. Wells takes it back into the corner, and now Fox starts out. Jim Fox into the Washington zone for Bernie Nickel. Here's Grant Ledyard's shot. That's blocked and sent up into the crowd out of play. Bernie Nichols had many rumors recently coming up involving his name. We had heard him supposedly on his way to the Quebec Nordiques for as many as 3 players. And the Kings people in town here tell us that he is not playing well at all, and certainly he's capable of doing a terrific job, and I wonder why it isn't happening in Los Angeles.
Well, now he's got to pick up his goal scoring without Marcel Dionne out there. Interesting thing with that Nichols line, he's got Jimmy Fox out there and Tiger Williams. And Brian Murray so far has put his top checkers out there, Gould and Duchesne against that line, but has Jim Thompson out there against Tiger Williams.
The comments about Nichols' play have to be as of late, because he has 24 goals and 42 assists for 66 points in the season. Here's Wells behind the net. Feeds it ahead for Morris Lukowich. Directed back inside the Washington zone, and Greg Adams from Bob Mason out to Craig Laughlin at center. Here's Laughlin across the line. Deeks his way in. Drops it for Hatcher. Hatcher couldn't get the shot off. Kings try to clear it. Mark Hardy will back up and starts out now from beside his own net. Long lead pass to center. Breaking in and hooked from behind. Greg Smith is all over Carson and ties him up effectively without drawing a penalty. Laughlin out to center ice. Hardy back to the red line, and Laughlin drills it into the Los Angeles zone. Franceschetti in to chase it. The puck cleared back inside the Capital zone, and Galley is there set to retrieve. Now to Langway. The Kings come back. McKenna at the blue line, challenged by Galley. Franceschetti with the stick on Carpenter, tries to hook him down. And now Once again, here is Sean McKenna. McKenna inside the Capitals line, tied up by Galley. Kostelic comes out into the skates of Franceschetti. Left side slap shot and a stick save made by Melanson in the goal. Now Kostelic behind the net, hit by Carpenter. Bob Carpenter moves up the boards, gets by Ridley, cuts to center ice and avoids Franceschetti. He passes to Robitaille, but Robitaille just offside on the left wing. Let's check in downstairs now with Jeff Rimmer.
Thanks, Mike. Well, tonight during our intermissions, a couple of interesting guests. David Foyle normally joined us in the first intermission. We hope he'll be here. He's just traveling back to Washington from a scouting trip. In his absence, pinch hitting, if he can't be with us, will be assistant coach Ron LaPointe. Second intermission, a candid conversation with a former member of the Washington Capitals, back for a third visit this season in a different uniform. Bob Carpenter is going to join us, hopefully in that second intermission, so stay with us here on Home Team Sports. We'll have some scoring updates for you later on in the intermission, but right now let's head back upstairs to Mike and Al.
Look forward to hearing the comments of Bob Carpenter. Certainly has not ducked members of the press, has talked very freely about the troubled season he has had, and I said at the top of the show, and I'll still say it, I think once he gets himself settled in someplace and realizes the things he's got to start doing again, will be a real solid hockey player one more time in the National Hockey League. He has that type of talent. I think it's just simply going through a mental process right now.
Well, if he ever does, I think he certainly has the potential to get another 50-goal season. Los Angeles might be the spot for that.
Well, the Capitals have to be happy now that he is out of the East. But they only will see him 3 times a year because he certainly has got the skills to come back and haunt a team.
I would think Bobby would be a lot happier in L.A. than he would have been in New York. Certainly wasn't happy during the time he was in New York, but I'm speaking about the long haul. Here's Stevens back to his own line, and as he throws it outside the zone, Bob Bourne brings it back in. Some Kings trapped in Capitals ice, and the play called offside.
Brian Murray still without 2 of his top center icemen, and Alan Howarth and Michael Babanka, which means certain guys are playing a little bit out of position. You got to mix and match your lines a bit. Brian Murray's been doing a good job of keeping a team that has been plagued by some injuries to key personnel moving. Key personnel, it's got to be a real problem when you're sitting out there and you've got to play people who are normally not center icemen, normally not right wingers, out of position. But Brian Murray has had that ability to mix and match his lines to a pretty solid degree, and against his King team, it's awful tough because they've got on all 4 of their lines at least 1 guy on each line that has got some real solid offensive skills.
Here's Gould across the blue line, cutting in, tries to give to Gaetan Duchesne. Franceschetti attempts to pick up the deflected puck, but now it's out of the zone and back in. 8:35 to play, first period. Capitals have a 1-0 lead on Greg Adams' 7th goal of the season. Tiger Williams out to center, gets across the line to Jay Wells. Down the middle, a wrist shot, wide from Fox. Duchesne back of the net. Stevens moves it out. Gaetan Duchesne, long lead pass, just past Franceschetti. Into the corner, he goes after it and centers, but Wells knocks it away. Gaetan Duchesne bumped off the puck by Nichols. Now here's Kelly Miller, a shot and a goal! Miller with a wrist shot that danced past Melanson, and Melanson may not have seen all of that one coming. The Capitals lead 2-0.
And the Kings argue with linesman Gord Brasiker about a possible offside. But no call coming, and you're right, Melanson had no idea where that was with big number 4, Grant Ledyard, parked in front of him. Kelly Miller just trying to flip it in front. You see Williams pulling down Murphy. The Kings doing a pretty good job of individual checking, but Kelly Miller gets the break, beats Melanson on that far side, and the Caps are up on top 2-0.
Gaetan Duchesne picks up an assist on Miller's 14th of the season at 11:59. Capitals in front 2-0. Larry Murphy also has an assist on the play. The puck cleared all the way back inside the Capital zone. Kevin Hatcher out to Laughlin. At the point, a shot by Hardy, right on, and the save made by Mason. Back to the corner. Here's Smith behind the net. Over to Craig Laughlin. Laughlin starts out, moves it ahead to center ice. A pass to Kelly Miller, gets across the blue line, and Laughlin, a bit eager on the right wing, is offside on the play.
You can guarantee yourself seats to home playoff games this season
Lou Franceschetti with a break moments ago, Al, that had he caught up with it, might have given him another crack at a breakaway. Had one in St. Louis the other night and hit the goalpost.
You see where the pass comes from. On one side of the blue line, that does Franceschetti touch it?
Nope. I didn't think he did.
No. Kings argued in no avail. The lead still stands for the Caps, 2-0.
Here's Carson. Sends it across the line, back into the corner. The play's still onside, though.
Sure, yeah.
The puck came across the blue line before he did.
If he touches it with himself over the other side, it's offside.
Here's a break and cutting in a backhand shot. Mason makes a dandy save on Carson. Laughlin up the right wing board. Works to center and fires a rising shot. Melanson grabs that. Dean Kennedy. Stick handles out to center. Right side pass. Carson directs to the corner. Here's Ed Kostelic on the ice for the Capitals. Moves it out to the blue line. Now Luc Robitaille pushes it back in, and Galley fires it back to center ice. Kings return it to Capitals ice, and Langway goes behind the Washington net. 2-0 score. Caps in the lead. 6:12 to play here in the first period. Mike Forens with Al Koken and Jeff Rimmer here on Home Team Sports. McKenna battles with Langway in the corner. Now Langway and Robitaille hang on to one another, and we've got a holding penalty coming up. And referee Mike Noah, I believe, has called an interference penalty. Time of the call at 14:02 of the first period.
Tomorrow night, Home Team Sports takes you ringside in Atlantic City for HTS Night at the Fights. Eric Holly, with a record of 14-1, 10 of his wins coming by knockout, squares off with Artie McLeod, who is 12-2. That in a 10-round light heavyweight bout. The bell sounds at 7:30 on the channel you cheer for, Home Team Sports.
David Jensen penalized here at 14:02 for interference. And for the first time, the Kings will have the man advantage.
Jensen trying to wrap up Sean McKenna. You see McKenna right there, number 10, and hooks him, throws him down to the ice, and that's what has the call against Mike Noah. Jimmy Carson, who is one of the other hot rookies along with Luc Robitaille, has got some great hands. He's got a tremendous scoring touch, but Bob Mason stays right with him as he tries to get him on the backhand side and stops Carson on that break.
Right away, Stevens sends it all the way down. The Kings have the 4th power play in the National Hockey League at 24%. Close in scoring chance, and the Caps shorthanded but still have some pressure on. Washington's 7th in the league at 81%, while they are killing off penalties. Kelly Miller tried to get it back to Greg Smith, but Robitaille clears to the point. Here's a slap shot, stick just wide of the net. Carpenter on the doorstep, but Mason kicks it out. And the puck skitters past Ledyard at the point and sails all the way back inside the Los Angeles zone. 1:15 to go on the David Jensen penalty. Capitals lead 2-0. Here's Carpenter. Still booed every time he touches the puck. Carries it in. Gartner with the steal. Mike Gartner, shorthanded, carries in across the blue line. Now throws it back to Washington ice for Hatcher. Carson takes it, fires, and a stop by Mason. He took that one right in the chest. Gartner trying to kill off some more time in the process, and in the line change that ensued, the Kings got a scoring opportunity out of it. Now Gartner just clears it all the way down. The Kings mount another attack. 30 seconds to go in the Los Angeles power play. Hatcher up the boards. Duchesne is checked. And now out of the zone it goes, and Hardy will chase it back into the LAN. Here's Nichols. Tries to get past Christian and does. Stops at the right point. Flips it in front. It goes into the net. Bob Mason thought the defense was going to handle that. A very soft shot, and Bob kind of waved at it in a last-ditch attempt to play it free. The Kings are on the board.
I think Mason thinks Hatcher's going to stop this. Watch Kevin Hatcher skates over towards it. Mason kind of freezes. Hatcher freezes, and the puck just bounces on in. From the higher angle, I think you'll be able to see, or from this low shot, too. Now watch Kevin Hatcher. He'll just start to move over there. And I'm sure Bob Mason thinks that Hatcher's going to play that because it certainly was not coming in hard. That is the problem of miscommunication.
Los Angeles goal.
There you get to see Hatcher was nearby. He certainly could have reached out and done something with it, but then you talk about to the defenseman to keep everything clean, not to let those things get through, not to let the stick get on top of them, to try and get a change of direction. But on a soft shot like that, the defense probably should pick it up. Miscommunications cost the Capitals.
Well, if you're the goaltender, you got to be ready on that play, no matter what the defense does. And I think both parties to blame there, and more to blame, Al, the point that you raised, the miscommunication. It's not the first time we've seen that sort of thing around the Washington goal.
Remember, Bob Mason has not played a lot of games lately. You kind of, if you're not talking constantly, if you're not on the ice and get into that rhythm of the game, things like that will happen.
You've seen goaltenders crouch into the position when a defenseman carries the puck from behind the net, just to be sure. Mason clearly wasn't ready there. But Hatcher made a motion like he was going to get the puck and then didn't. And Mason receives a rude chorus of catcalls here after stopping another easy shot. Murphy directs it across the line. Power play goal for Nichols, his 25th from Mark Hardy at 17:02. Pardon me, 16:02, the correct time of the goal. Capitals 2, the Kings 1. Here's Langway behind the net. Over to Galley, out to Laughlin. Rod Langway to center ice for Ridley, dumps it across the line. Here's Gartner with a steal. In front, Ridley was robbed as Melanson stopped to make a save on a play that began very innocently. Carpenter across the line. Langway takes him out. Into the corner goes Christian. Now to Mike Gartner. Gartner hustles to center ice. Cruises across the blue line with a slap shot. And a save by Melanson. Tapped off the boards, and the Kings come back again. 1:50 to play in the period. Galley to the corner. Los Angeles has a line change underway. Here's Gartner on the right wing. Moves up to center ice. Gartner gets across the blue line. Carries to the corner. Drops it off for Christian. Christian back to Mike Gartner. He throws to the point. Greg Smith, a shot on the fly. Broke the blade of his stick. And here's a penalty call as Nichols has taken down Mike Ridley in front. 2 minutes for hooking. The Capitals will finish the period on the power play. There's a break in the action with the score, the Capitals 2 and the Los Angeles Kings 1.
The Caps back on the power play with 1:28 left to go. They'll finish out this period with the man advantage as Steve Duchesne is called for hooking. See, number 28 gets Ridley started on down. Now the Capitals did have themselves a scoring chance. Watch the way Mike Gartner just throws a pass over, and Mike Ridley tries to redirect it. But what a great diving stop by Rolly Melanson. Knew that puck was coming over and got out to get the deflection by Ridley before it could cross the line.
Phil Sykes just came over and wanted to get a new stick, and Mike Noeth would hear none of that. He wouldn't allow Sykes to get another stick as they were ready to go for the face-off when Sykes left. From the draw, it's knocked to the corner. Dean Kennedy in there scraping away, and finally it's taken by Gartner back to the point. Gartner back to the corner. Again to Mike Gartner, now to Scott Stevens. To Gartner cutting in. Centers, but Sykes right there. And he plays it out to center. Stevens had his stick knocked out of his hands. We're in the final minute of play in the period. Capitals with a manpower advantage. Gartner across the line. Back to Larry Murphy. Murphy in the corner, back to Gartner at the point. A slap shot, a pad save by Melanson, and the rebound cleared off the glass and sent all the way down. Mason puts it behind the net, and again some forechecking. Pries the puck free from Stevens, and at the side of the goal, Mason makes a save. The Kings are right on the Caps, even when they're shorthanded. Here's Murphy. Out to Christian. 20 seconds to go in the period. A steal. Carpenter cuts in. He picked Christian's pocket and fires, and Mason with the glove save. Bob Carpenter displaying some hustle there. Turned a 1-on-2 into a breakaway.
He was the man who had an earlier scoring chance, shorthanded. There's the backhand shot that Bob Mason stops. And then back in comes Carpenter. Bob Carpenter has shown pretty aggressive play in this first period. You know, you can only get on a guy so much. I think maybe after the trade to the Rangers, those boos certainly worked to kind of put a damper on his play, but they must have fired him up tonight. Maybe the little boost that he got from Tiger Williams, letting him know that, yeah, you're part of our team right now. Don't let these fans get on you. It said something to Bob Carpenter.
He's been booed here, but I think Jeff Rimmer said it best. He's lucky he never felt the real wrath of that crowd in New York. The first period comes to a close. The Capitals lead the Kings 2-1 on goals by Adams and Miller. Bernie Nichols scored for Los Angeles. Shots on goal in the first period. The Capitals 10 and the Los Angeles Kings 8. Our live exclusive coverage will continue in a moment, right after we pause for these messages on the Home Team Sports Television Network.
A full moon on this St. Patrick's Day as we take a look at the U.S. Capitol on a Tuesday night here at the Capitol Center nearby Landover, Maryland. The Caps leading the visiting Los Angeles Kings by a score of 2-1. Welcome back. I'm Jeff Rimmer, and our first
spark plug. They've got guys out there who they really depend on for their offense, but they depend on Tiger Williams for the heart and soul of the team on the ice.
Both clubs are back out there ready to go for the second period. Let's check in downstairs right now with Jeff Rimmer.
Mike and Al, you as part of the traveling squad with the Washington Capitals may want to make a comment about this. The Caps general manager David Poile attending a Board of Governors meeting today, and the Board of Governors discussing the moving of the Los Angeles Kings to the National Hockey League Smythe Division, and they discovered to the Norris Division from the Smythe Division. The feeling there is the Toronto Maple Leafs could switch places, and then the Smythe Division would become a strictly Canadian division. The Capitals certainly no sense them discussing the situation for themselves, but obviously the Los Angeles Kings would like to make that Toronto Maple Leaf move, that switch, so they can maybe get a better shot in their own division or their new division, the Norris Division. But the Smythe Division would then become an all-Canadian division. Bottom line here is the National Hockey League's Board of Governors turned thumbs down on that, and the Kings will again apply, perhaps at a later date, to again switch divisions. They're not at all happy with the travel schedule that they have. And more on that throughout this hockey game, but right now let's rejoin Mike Bournes and Al Koken.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Very interesting, but how could the travel get any better if they moved most of their games, most of their away games within the division farther east? As it stands right now, you know, Vancouver and getting to Winnipeg is no picnic, but in the, you know, getting to St. Louis and getting to Detroit would be even longer.
Let's look at this from a purely financial standpoint. Is it going to help the Los Angeles Kings crowd to have Wayne Gretzky come into your building one time only? Now they get him many more times than that. Here's Scott Stevens cutting in, centers it, but Wrigley fires wide. We're underway here with the second period. The puck cleared all the way down. They've got a good rivalry now with teams like Edmonton and Calgary coming in there. Those are Western clubs.
I can see in terms of competition, but, you know, Dale Hawerchuk is certainly a player who's getting a little mention for himself. The Calgary Flames, they've got some guys who are starting to get better known in the National Hockey League. Stay where you are, I think.
Besides, who are the Kings going to beat up on if they can't play Vancouver? Here's a lead pass out to center ice, and Steve Duchesne throws it all the way back inside the Washington zone. 2-1 score. We're just underway with the second period. The Capitals have the lead. Dave Taylor starts back to Carson. Flips it over into the corner. Morris Lukowicz knocks it down. Christian's right on him. Now Larry Murphy comes in to help out. And Murphy skates ahead to center ice. Bounces it back inside the King zone, and Grant Ledger's there to retrieve. Picked off by Greg Adams. Adams cuts to the net, gives to Lachlan, fires, saved by Melanson. And he covers up and hangs on. Greg Adams picking off a pass just inside the blue line, and the Caps got a scoring chance out of it from Craig Lachlan.
It's right off a line change, and all three of these guys come rushing forward with Kelly Miller down deep. forcing the Kings to make a long pass that Greg Adams anticipates, picks off. He holds it for a second. Lachlan was open there, and then Craig Lachlan made another move away from the puck, but that's a tough shooting angle for a right-handed shot. You've got to turn the body around and then get your momentum to go back towards the goal.
Gary Galley, one of the more enthusiastic young men that you'll find playing the game of hockey. Really has a smile every time you see him at practice. Loads of stories.
And I tell you, is he relieved that he played the Kings already? This would be a terrible, terrible night for Gary Galley if he hadn't played the Kings in his first game as a Washington Capital after the trade. The Capitals were in Edmonton when the trade was made. The next game was in LA. Gary Galley facing his teammates, saying it was the most difficult night he has ever spent on a sheet of ice. It was a tough game for him to get into emotionally, all those mixed emotions going. But after that one was under his belt, now it's a lot easier to face his old teammates. And boy, does he want to beat him bad tonight.
That first one, of course, at the Forum as well, which made it doubly tough right after that trade. Here's Taylor stealing at center ice. Right wing pass for Carson, but he's offside. Face-off goes back to neutral territory.
As many guys do in those trade situations, Gary Galley and Al Jensen just swapped houses, so made it both an easier transition for each guy. And happy St. Patrick's Day to this man. With a green button, well represented, Mike Murphy taking over after the Pat Quinn incident. And a lot of people saying that Murphy's done a solid job. Murphy will get that job full-time next year.
Think about it, though, Al. Just one time in your NHL career, wouldn't you like to be working a game on St. Patrick's Day night and have it be a Saturday night and be in Boston?
Garden. You got it.
What a treat. Langway chases. Ties up in behind the net, and Galley moves it along. Make sure you find out where Terry O'Reilly's going that evening and can hang out with him. Frozen puck and play is called here. 17:47 to go in the second period. Well, goalkeepers tonight around the league. At Philadelphia, the Rangers are going with John Van Beesbroek. Ron Hextall is in goal for the Flyers. Boston is at Detroit this evening to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Bill Ranford against Greg Steffen. Chicago at Minnesota later on. Buffalo at Calgary. Quebec at Vancouver. And New Jersey at Edmonton. Kings historically with problems playing on the road. Lead pass from Galley, left side for Duchesne. And Bernie Nichols starts back, gets across the line to Jim Fox. Slap shot. Langway deflects it to the corner. Galley back to try and move it along. The Kings still have possession. Here's a big save by Mason as he stopped Tiger Williams from close range. Tiger's been in all the right places so far tonight, including during the warm-up.
We talk about Tiger Williams and his toughness, but certainly the man can shoot the puck. He's had a few 20-plus goal seasons, 14 goals and 14 assists this year. This is Bob Mason's best save of the night, and Tiger Williams is camped out right in the slot. The pass out to him, feels the hard shot, and Mason covers up on it. Now, don't forget the Caps' next home game is this Friday night, the 20th of March, when the Caps host arch rivals Pittsburgh. 8:05 is the start of the game, and it's Thermal Mug Night, sponsored by Lawn Boy. All fans in attendance receive a Caps Thermal Mug absolutely free. Get your tickets at all Ticket Center outlets, including all Hex, or call phone charge at 432-0200. Remember, coming into tonight's game, the Penguins trailed Washington by 4 points in that race for the final berth in the Patrick Division. So Friday night proves to be a big game with Mary Lemieux and company in town.
Sean McKenna's high slap shot stopped by Mason. Hatcher up the boards. At the point, Carpenter rifles a drive on net. Mason makes the stop. Now here's Hatcher. Feeds it out to Mike Gartner. Up to center ice looking for Ridley, and Hatcher picks up to help out. Carries across the line into the skates of Christian. Christian has Hardy with him. Throws it in behind the goal. Dean Kennedy clears off the boards, and Gartner tries to keep it in. Carpenter flips back to center. Greg Smith returns the puck to the Kings zone. Here comes Kennedy now. Ridley's right on him and steals. Ridley back to the point. Slap shot by Smith. Kick save made by Rolly Melanson. And the Kings, Carpenter comes back. 3-on-2. Offside the call right at the Washington blue line. The pass from Carpenter went behind that of his left winger.
Not a particularly good pass. Tries a long backhand pass to try and pick up Luc Robitaille on the left side. Passing is not Carpenter's strength. He seems to be a much better player when he's got a good passing winger or a guy who will dig out the puck in the corner, and Carpenter can plant himself in front. But that 3-on-2, the Kings do not get a shot. Not a particularly sharp pass by Bob Carpenter.
There's the Tiger. Heck of a nice guy.
He really is. You know, he's got, everybody thinks of him as just an absolute nut. And he does some crazy things on the ice, but he's a colorful figure. He's the type of guy that, you know, the game of hockey really needs in regards of promotion. Guy you come out to talk about and see.
Stan Fischler has a quote in a column in this most recent issue of the Hockey News that says he's never met a roughhouse player in hockey that he didn't like. All the tough guys are always great guys off the ice. Here comes Murphy to center. Shoots it back inside the Kings zone. Melanson plays it behind the net. Franceschetti has it taken away now by Erickson, and he tosses back inside Washington's end. Capitals lead 2-1, 15-14 to play here in the second period. Ed Kostelic from the red line. Throws it past David Jensen. The Caps have a line change underway. Here's Dave Taylor cutting back to center. Puck cleared all the way back inside the Kings zone. Steve Duchesne off the boards to center. Scott Stevens plays it to Galley. Right up the middle now for Kelly Miller. And Morris Lukowicz ties up in front of the Capitals bench. Breaks it free now to Carson at the blue line. He's hooked by Stevens. The puck comes back to center. Steve Duchesne over to Tom Laidlaw. Now the Capitals' Lachlan throws it off the boards past Greg Adams. Carson comes back for Los Angeles, gets across the line, looks for Lukowicz, fires the shot, Mason the save. The puck's still loose in front. We have a Kings player hurt. Carson is taking his glove off and is holding his face, and he tries to get back to the bench, but play continues. Greg Adams has it swept free. Out to center ice. Carson heads over to the Los Angeles bench now. The puck cleared back inside the Washington zone. Hatcher behind the net. Over to Greg Smith. To Steve Duchesne. Out to center for Kelly Miller. Bounces all the way back inside the Kings zone, and back goes Dean Kennedy. Too far for Fox. This will go all the way down. No icing. Mason comes out. Leaves it for Bob Gould. Gould spilled in the corner. Again, Tiger Williams. The man doing the damage. Greg Smith up the middle for Bobby Gould. Picked up by Jim Thompson on right wing. Here's Thompson across the line into the corner. He bumps Kennedy, but the puck cleared out of the zone and all the way back into Washington's end. Mason will stop it behind the net, eases it along. The icing's waved off. Fox puts it right in front. Tiger Williams there, but Thompson had a piece of him, and now Hatcher chases him into the corner. Hatcher all over Williams. Kings keep the pressure on in the Washington zone. Bernie Nichols checked by Bob Gould behind the net. Now Greg Smith comes in to throw a hit. The Kings still with possession. Pass out. Gaetan Duchesne grabs that for the Capitals, and Duchesne starts to center. Caps want a line change. Duchesne charges in, drops it for Gartner. A slap shot up high and wide off the glass. It caroms all the way back to the Washington zone. Robitaille chased now by Langway. Gartner off the boards, leaps to avoid a check, and the shot from Jim Fox hits the side of the Capitals goal. Now the puck centered. Carpenter fires. Mason and Langway combine to keep Robitaille out from in front, and they stop the puck. Here's Christian cutting in. A slap shot. A save by Melanson. The rebound back to the corner board. Out comes Wells to the blue line. Leads to center. Langway works it free, but the Kings' Jay Wells starts back into Washington ice. Larry Murphy ties up with Bob Carpenter. Here's Dave Christian. Sends it across the line, and Ridley was ahead of the play when Gartner brought it in, so offside is called. There's a break in the action with a score. The Capitals 2, the Los Angeles Kings 1.
All right, the week's over. Yeah, and the weekend's just beginning.
Come on, we'll show you how a good time goes. We're going to a place where they talk Strohs. Cause a good time's better with a good time beer. And Strohs is smoking here.
Here's how the good times get better. Strohs and Stroh Light 15 and 30 packs. A convenient package at a special value. Get them wherever you buy your beer.
Strohs is smoking here.
11:43 left in the second period. The Caps still on top of the LA Kings 2-1. Al Koken, Mike Bournes, and Jeff Rimmer with you tonight on Home Team Sports. LA Kings certainly are flying in the second period. They got guys who, as soon as one of their defensemen touches the puck, two guys is breaking out to the zone to try and put extra pressure on the Capitals defensemen. They're really playing fast break hockey, true to their Smythe Division heritage.
Here's Stevens, a lead pass out for David Jensen, but Steve Duchesne picks it up. Starts across the line to Phil Sykes. Sykes throws into the corner. Stevens there to tie up. Lou Francischetti moves it back to the point. A slap shot by Laidlaw goes just wide. Now Hatcher takes the puck to the corner. Throws it behind the net. Kostelic picks it up on the right wing. Out to center. Onto the stick of Francischetti. Francischetti piled into along the sideboards by Steve Duchesne. Erickson charges down the middle. Stevens takes him. The shot blocked by Scott Stevens. Throws it behind the net. Now Gaetan Duchesne run again. This time Dean Kennedy goes after him. Play has been called, and Lou Francischetti wants to talk to a few members of the Los Angeles Kings who seem to be out to try and go after Francischetti. That hit Duchesne through was worthy of Lou Francischetti. That's the type of play Francischetti would make, but this one by Dean Kennedy, I don't think Lou even knew was coming.
Let's check in downstairs with Jeff Rimmer for scores. Al, a busy night in the National Hockey League. Let's check that Stroh's scoreboard. Patrick Division rivalry. Third time in a week, the Flyers and the Rangers going at it. Philadelphia on a couple of goals by Tim Kerr, his 50th and 51st of the year, leading by a score of 2-0 there in the first period. And Detroit ahead of Boston in the second period now. Higgins, the lone goal for the Red Wings. We'll keep you updated on those scores on our Stroh scoreboard, but back upstairs now to Mike and Al.
All right, Jeff, thanks very much. Kevin Hatcher gets penalized for cross-checking at 9:19. And once again, Los Angeles has the power play coming up.
Well, Kevin certainly did run. I'm sorry, he certainly did run Dean Kennedy, but that was after Kennedy looked like he put about 4 or 5 strides before he picked up Lou Francischetti. The Capitals looking for a charging call on Kennedy, but the only call will come to Kevin Hatcher, who retaliated the shot on Kennedy with a cross-check, and L.A. takes the man advantage again.
Carson works against Langway and wins the draw. Back to Nichols, a slap shot, blocked in front. Langway sends it to the corner, but gets tripped up by Taylor. The puck back to the point. Here's Bernie Nichols. He drives, and Mason makes the glove save to the corner. Cleared out by Smith to Gaetan Duchesne, and now sent all the way down by Greg Smith. Tim Kerr, a legitimate threat now for a 60-goal season. The 50th and 51st tonight. The Rangers and the Flyers at the Spectrum. Gaetan Duchesne can't get it out of the zone. Morris Lukowicz throws it ahead now for Taylor. Dave Taylor back to the corner, and Greg Smith helps it along behind the net. Langway is held behind the goal by Lukowicz. Out comes Gaetan Duchesne, gets across the blue line. Stick handles all the way out to center ice. Still a minute to go on the power play for Los Angeles. The Caps dump it in, and they change up the line. Good line change for the Caps there. They killed off some time, still got the fresh players out. Here's Nichols, bumped by Scott Stevens. And the puck is gloved by Mason, and he hangs on to stop play. Mason in goal for that 10-2 verdict over the Toronto Maple Leafs the other night. Has no trouble holding on to this one.
And he really wasn't tested all that much by Toronto, maybe in the second period, but Caps had everything going their way in the third period. Tonight, he's already faced 15 shots on goal. Lou Franceschetti now heading to the dressing room. Wondering if it's just equipment repairs or if there's an injury problem. He certainly was hammered around considerably by a number of the LA Kings. But I'd like to see about what Bob Mason has done after letting in that soft goal. He certainly has come up with some key saves in this second period. That's that competitive spirit you love to see in a goaltender. To have him shake off a bad goal and not let it bother him and have him work even harder to make the big saves.
Crowd still getting on Carpenter here in the second period. He wins the draw. Back to Jay Wells. Scott Stevens has it taken away by Carpenter. It's behind the net. Murphy in pursuit of Carpenter. Tries to hook him. The puck skids past Ledyard's stick and sails all the way down the ice. 20 seconds to go and the penalty call to Hatcher. Scott Stevens out at center, returns to the Los Angeles line, and here comes Wells. Fires a rising shot. Mason grabs that. Cleared off the boards by Stevens and all the way down. That'll take care of the penalty. Out comes Kevin Hatcher. The Capitals are back at full strength. Grant Ledyard sends it back inside the Capital zone. Murphy jams up with Carpenter behind the net. Now over to Mike Gartner. Gartner leads the pass out to Larry Murphy. Murphy to center ice. Left side for Christian. He goes to the corner, but Kennedy takes it away and throws it all the way back into the Washington zone. Mason has to do something with it on his own and sends it up the boards for Gartner on right wing. He tips to Larry Murphy. Murphy across the line. Slams on the brakes. Is bumped off the puck, but Gartner has it. Tries to flip it in front. And Fox starts back on the rebound for Los Angeles. 3-on-2. Jim Fox with Nichols and Kennedy. Fox to the corner. Throws it in front. There's the pass. Just missed Hardy. And Ridley is able to clear it out of the zone.
Mike Ridley did a great job of coming back and picking up the trailer, Dean Kennedy, and not letting Kennedy get in scoring position.
Here's a lead pass left side. Tiger Williams is in, but can't get a shot away. The rebound is tipped wide of the net. And Langway sends it all the way down the ice. And now we've got some action in the corner as Langway and Tiger Williams talk it over.
That's that same spot where Tiger Williams had some trouble with the fans earlier in the pregame warm-up. We talk about him shooting the puck at the glass and throwing a puck at a fan and trying to climb up into the stands. Well, this is with Rod Langway down there. As Tiger, frustrated that he couldn't get a shot off. Here he is alone in on Mason. Tries a deke to get it over to the backhand side. Rolls off and Mason gets it away. Capitals then cover up with Craig Laughlin diving down and deflecting the shot over the net. And then it follows up over to the corner where where Langway and Tiger Williams got entangled. Or wherever business drives you, you can stay in control with the Cellular One car phone. Because whenever you need to be in touch with your office, your clients, or your family, your Cellular One car phone is at your fingertips. Call Cellular One today in Washington at 220-2000 or 1-800-CELLONE in Baltimore. Now, staying in touch means staying in control.
Here's Bobby Gould to go to the corner. Behind the net to Duchesne. He's pinned by Kennedy. Rod Langway has the puck. Tigers seemed more upset with referee Mike Noack once he had a chance to speak to Langway. Whatever they had going apparently was resolved. Melanson covers up, and Williams now involved in keeping the Capitals away from the Los Angeles goal. Gaetan Duchesne and Dean Kennedy discuss the play. Well, whenever something like that happens, Jimmy Thompson's the guy you want to have around. Just came up from Binghamton and certainly spent enough time in the penalty box down in that American Hockey League city. He has already gone from 18 minutes to 35 minutes in the NHL, thanks to just that one game against St. Louis the other night.
It's a story of perseverance. Has been in the Capitals organization for a number of years now, and is getting a chance because of toughness and trying to do the job both in that physical department and show that he can do a little offensively as well, that he's not just a one-dimensional player. A lot of guys get frustrated. You're in an organization for 4, 5, 6 years before you get a crack at the bigs. Jim Thompson worked on a number of aspects of his game, his power skating, puck handling a little bit, but it's that toughness that the Capitals want to see right now.
Here's a slap shot and a save made by Rolly Melanson. Back come the Kings. Morris Lukowicz, left side. Charging in goes Carson. He flips it wide to the corner. Now Greg Adams. Sent back to the corner, and Taylor behind the net. Picked off by Kevin Hatcher. Hatcher slides it ahead for Kelly Miller. Here's Miller to the blue line. Gets inside the Los Angeles zone. He's tied up by Steve Duchesne. Greg Adams with Laidlaw in pursuit. Feeds to Lachlan. Now Miller, a shot right on. And Melanson makes the stop there. Here's Adams to the corner. Chases it behind the net to Craig Lachlan. In front for Smith. He's alone and he's tied up. It's on the goal line. A shot and a goal. Melanson is furious with all that activity right in front of him, but the puck was there first, and that's the key. The Capitals players are allowed in there as long as the puck is there. And storming the net pays off as Washington goes ahead 3-1.
And once again in the right spot is Greg Adams. Watch Greg Smith make his move down. He's pulled down, and I think you'll see everybody taking Melanson in towards the net, and the puck is lying there. That's a good call by Mike Noeth. Smith is pushed from behind by an LA King. His momentum takes it into Melanson. You see the shot from behind. Now he's dragged down by an LA King. If he goes into Melanson because of that, that is not Greg Smith's fault. And the puck is very visible right there, and Greg Adams taps it across the line. No argument does Rolly Melanson have, because his teammate pushed Greg Smith into him, and that puck was not frozen. Mike Noeth could see it. He did not blow the whistle. A proper play by Noeth, and Greg Adams increases the Capitals' lead once again to 2 goals.
Looks like a page right out of our home team sports tip from the night, doesn't it?
Exactly what you have to do. The referee was right on the line and did not blow the whistle early. Good play by Mike Noeth, and a really solid play by the Gregs, Smith and Adams.
I thought Greg Smith was going to get his first goal of the season on that play, the way he was heading toward the goal. He gets an assist, so does Kelly Miller at 13:51. Adams 8th of the year and 2nd of the night. Kostelic upended at the boards. Tries to move it along. Shot wide by David Jensen. Back to the point. Scott Stevens a shot. That's deflected to the corner. Now Kostelic trying to center. Here's Lou Francischetti. Back on the ice for the Capitals. Centers it. Right off Jensen. It hits the goalpost and is smothered by Rolly Melanson. There's a break in the action with a score. The Capitals 3 and the Kings 1.
Mr. Sweeney, what year was the Battle of Hastings?
17...
All your life, you've had to remember numbers.
Private
Sweeney, serial number.
15114. Sir!
Welcome aboard Flight 798 for Hawaii.
I thought this was Flight 789 to Buffalo.
Forget something, dear?
Now you can stop worrying about numbers. Let the Maryland Lottery's Quick 3, Quick 4 computer pick them for you.
Computers. I love them.
The Capitals, who lead it by 2 at 3-1, almost got another as Lou Francischetti's centering pass hit the right skate of David Jensen. Watch David Jensen's right skate as he comes into position. It goes off that right skate, changes direction, and just trickles wide of the post.
5:19 to go here in the second period. The Capitals have a 3-1 lead. Greg Adams, 2nd of the night, is the only goal-scoring play so far here in the second period. From the draw, Gartner a blast and a save by Melanson. Hardy ties up behind the net. Carpenter moves it along to Robitaille. Now Gartner back to the point. It gets past Gary Galley, but Langway is there to pick it up. Carpenter into forecheck. Langway fires off the boards. Dean Kennedy shoots it right back in. Gartner picks it up. Mike Gartner ahead for Ridley. Sends it out of the zone to center ice. Kennedy skates back into the Los Angeles end. Over to Mark Hardy. Hardy with Ridley in pursuit. Off the boards all the way back to the Capital zone. And once again, Gary Galley out. Up to Dave Christian. Cuts in. Wrist shot. Melanson the save. And he holds on. Melanson using that glove that time as Christian sent a wobbling puck right toward the top corner of the net.
I want to extend my apologies to David Christian. I think the other night I inadvertently mentioned that the Warroad, Minnesota native stayed at home and went to school at the University of Minnesota. Not true, of course. Went to the University of North Dakota. I don't want any Fighting Sioux alumni on my doorstep in anger, particularly with the Sioux getting ready for the NCAA playoffs. One of the favorites, they've got a great 1-2 tandem in Tony Herkus and Bob Joyce. So, University of North Dakota graduate. David's
People in Minnesota probably thought you were just trying to make peace there.
Boosterism.
Make them believe that he indeed had gone there. They like to keep those hockey players in Minnesota. And many good ones still go to school there. Hatcher is down. He is hurt. Greg Smith jumps on top of the man who hit Hatcher. And we've got a wrestling match going now as Greg Smith is all tied up.
With Bernie
Linesman Pat
Nichols.
Zapuzzo's the only man in there. And now as Gord Brosiker arrives on the scene and pulls Smith away, Smith came right to the aid of Kevin Hatcher, who I believe had been dropped by Nichols just inside the Washington zone.
See, Kevin Hatcher, I think he'd gotten a stick in the face, if not an elbow. Just caught the tail end of it watching Hatcher drop. Now number 9 is Bernie Nichols. Keep an eye. Well, he's got that elbow up high.
Put the shoulder right into him, right into his face.
And now again, members of the LA Kings at that side of the glass getting into it with Washington Capitol fans.
I never knew there was one section in this building that really had a dislike for Carpenter more than any other.
Well, Tiger Williams is out there now yapping at Greg Smith. That won't take long with Jim Thompson right there. If Tiger really is interested in getting something going, he's got a willing participant with number 37. Kevin Hatcher has something to say to Tiger Williams. Tiger's nonstop, isn't he?
Greg Smith has been excused from the game at this point with 4:15 to go in the second period. I would think that's just carry over into the third period. I don't think he's been kicked out of the game.
Now, will Bernie Nichols get anything? I couldn't see if the elbow came completely up. You could see the shoulder and the effort to get the elbow up on Kevin Hatcher, but I don't know if he fully got it.
Well, he had to jump pretty high to get all the way up to Hatcher's head.
Yeah.
Hatcher's very tall, and Nichols is not that tall. Let's see if we can hear what's going on.
Okay.
Mike, he just told you I didn't do a thing. Mike. Mike.
Roughing.
He just told you I didn't do a thing.
2 minutes for roughing. Over here, 5 minutes for fighting.
Mike, that's a gutless call.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Now, he's gone off to the dressing room. He'll just come back and serve his own penalty at the beginning of the next period. Bernie sits in for 2 minutes, and they both go on the clock.
Mike.
2 and 5, right? Yeah. Roughing and fighting.
Well, the Caps big losers in this situation.
Bernie Nichols of the Kings, 2 minutes for roughing. And number 19, Greg Smith of the Capitals, 5 minutes for fighting.
So the Caps get a major called against him fighting to Greg Smith, which means the LA Kings, once the penalty to Bernie Nichols expires, will have a 3-minute power play and are able to score at will because it's a major call. And the LA Kings look like they're upset about the deal.
I don't know how else that one could have gone.
They obviously just want Smith completely, and you heard Bernie Nichols saying that one of the linesmen said that Nichols didn't do anything. Our replay shows differently in terms of his involvement with Kevin Hatcher. Now, certainly Greg Smith jumped on top of him immediately, and if Bernie Nichols turtled up, they just won a complete 5-minute call and nothing to Bernie Nichols. But Brian Murray, of course, wants to know where was the call against Nichols for what he did to Kevin Hatcher. saw a good acting job by Bernie Nichols down there, and I guess that's what the producers out in Los Angeles were talking about when they mentioned a possible pilot series with Bernie Nichols playing a lead role about a young hockey player from a small town in Canada coming to the big city. He certainly was pleading his case with a very dramatic expression. I guess the emoting to the camera, right?
With all of that, he might qualify for a spot on LA Law.
Plea bargaining. Well, Kevin Allen, the sports writer, fine sports writer covering hockey, the National Hockey League beat for USA Today, was our pregame guest, and we appreciate Kevin being with us. And for being here, Kevin Allen receives a Seiko watch, courtesy of Mellard Jewelers. Mellard Jewelers has locations throughout Maryland, Virginia, and Washington, D.C. While there's a break and they're still getting things sorted out, let's check in downstairs with Jeff Rimmer.
Well, we've got some must-viewing upcoming in our second intermission. We're going to be joined by former Washington Capital, of course, now former New York Ranger. Bob Carpenter is going to join us. No phone calls, but we will get a chance to talk to Bob and have a candid conversation about a very troubled season for the now Los Angeles Kings young centerman. That's in our second intermission. We'll join you right here on Home Team Sports. Back upstairs now to Mike and Al.
4:15 to go in the period. In 2 minutes, Nichols will be out of the box. For right now, Los Angeles has 4 skaters. The Capitals have 4. LA will end up with a 3-minute power play. Here's Stevens and Gartner in to try and work it away from Dave Taylor. Gartner moves outside the line, up to Christian, cuts to center ice. Gartner back over to Dave Christian. Scott Stevens to Larry Murphy. Up to Christian inside the Los Angeles zone. Cuts in, fires Melanson with the shoulder save. Back to the corner, and Dean Kennedy clears it all the way down. Stopped by Mason, no icing. Back comes Murphy. Both teams have changed lines. Here's Stevens across the line to Mike Ridley. Flips it in front, but Melanson directs it away. Wells jammed up. Here's Kennedy. Back out for Bob Carpenter, and he clears it off the boards back into the Washington zone, again on net. Stevens back to take it. Jim Fox right on him. Stevens works to center. Gets across the line to Ridley. 40 seconds left in the penalty call to Nichols. Ridley back to the point, hops away past Langway, and Rod has to chase it back into his own end. In 30 seconds, Bernie Nichols is out of the box. And then the Kings start the 3-minute power play. Here's Gaetan Duchesne. Gets across the line inside the Los Angeles zone. Takes it behind the net. Duchesne on his backhand. Right through the goal mouth, but it's picked up by Ledyard, and he clears out to center ice. Langway throws it back into the Los Angeles zone. Nichols ready to come out of the box. Wells goes up the boards. Gaetan Duchesne keeps it in. The Kings have the power play. Bernie Nichols is out. Ledyard back to Nichols. Lead pass left side. Up ahead on the right wing for Ledyard. Gets across the line. Drop pass for Nichols. He throws it rink wide. The Kings a bit disorganized here as they're trying to change lines. And they may have had too many players out there. They did. They tried to sneak Dave Taylor back onto the bench, but it was caught by linesman Pat DiPuzzo, who tells Mike Noeth about it, and the Kings are going to be penalized for having too many men on the ice.
I tell you, Brian Murray and Terry Murray were almost flew over the boards to try and get DiPuzzo's attention to make sure he saw it. Mike Murphy can't believe it. Bernie Nichols now pleading his case to Mike Noeth. There was no question that the Kings certainly had the 6 men out there for too long. You can get a little bit of time as long as the guy coming out is not quickly involved in the play. You watch. Mike Gartner will just pop this up the boards. Now watch, it's going to be the, not this gate, but the gate closest to the Capitals bench where the activity takes place.
Should see Taylor trying to get off the ice. He's already standing inside there, but at that point DiPuzzo had already seen him come on. He was well away from the bench area. He was ready to participate in the play. Well, that really kills the Kings' power play chances here. Los Angeles will still have 33 seconds of power play time left, but it won't come around until the third period. 1:48 to go in the second period. 2:33 left in Smith's 5-minute fighting major. And now a full 2 minutes to the Kings bench. Phil Sykes will serve that. So we should finish off here at 4 skaters aside for the rest of the second period and then start the third period that way. Greg Adams has 2 goals tonight. His 8th of the year coming here in the second period has given the Capitals a 2-goal lead. Been the only scoring play of period number 2. Here's Stevens to Laughlin. Dave Christian out to Larry Murphy. Left side for Scott Stevens, and offside called against Washington. Well, congratulations to Scott for being named the Chrysler Dodge Player of the Week in the National Hockey League. I just hope that people do recognize the defensive contributions that you pointed out earlier, because a lot of times players think that the only way to get noticed is to get those points. And Scott certainly had a great week point-wise, but it's his defensive play that I think the Capitals appreciated just as much.
That's, to me, the fascinating part of the award. You know, Wayne Gretzky had the same number of points in those 3 games. I think it was like 5 goals and 4 assists, but the defensive job that Scott Stevens turns in makes that award even more important.
And there's probably no doubt that the points certainly got him the award.
It catches the eye. But if people were watching Scott Stevens throw the body around, block shots, and really quarterback back there.
Here's Erickson throwing it toward the front of the net. Steve Duchesne is taken out by Larry Murphy. We're in the final minute of play now in the period. Laidlaw ties up with Gartner at center. The Kings' Steve Duchesne to Bob Carpenter. Fires a bullet right into the arms of Mason. And Bob Mason took that in the crook of his elbow and stops play. Down to 46 seconds to go now in the period.
It's about the 5th good, solid shot Bob Carpenter has peppered at Bob Mason. He's letting it fly tonight. He's got a bullet. When he gets it underway, it's got a lot of juice on it. Boy, he is going in the right division to use those offensive skills, and if he can unearth it again. Bob Carpenter certainly can skate. He's got a great shot. The offensive skills are there. The 2 former Capitals side by side.
Carpenter has not had a tremendously outstanding night on faceoffs so far. We'll give you those statistics in a moment. But other than that, I'd say for 2 periods of play, it's the best 2 periods I've seen him play this year for any team that he's played for. And he hasn't scored a point. Here's Ledyard over to Wells. Right side for Nichols. Langway back to get it. Up the boards to center ice, and Ledyard in across the line early. Offside is called. On the faceoffs, Carpenter so far has won 4 out of 10. So he's been beaten 6 times and has won 4 draws. He's even up with Bobby Gould at 1-1. He has lost 3 times to Mike Ridley and has beaten Ridley twice. Laughlin has beaten Carpenter once, and Carpenter has beaten David Jensen once. Dave Christian has stolen 1 draw from Bob Carpenter. Kate Horton always does such a good job of keeping track of these things for us here on Home Team Sports. Kelly Miller charges to the front of the net, but has the puck kicked away. And Nichols starts back to center ice. There's the end of the second period. The Caps move ahead 3-1. Shots on goal in period number 2. For Los Angeles, 11, a 2-period total of 19. And for the Washington Capitals, 12, a 2-period total of 22. More hockey coming up from the Capitol Center right after these messages on Home Team Sports.
Washington, D.C., the nation's capital. And here at Landover, Maryland, the Washington Capitals scoring the only goal of the second period, that by Greg Adams, the second of the night. They lead the visiting Los Angeles Kings by 2. The score, Caps 3, the Kings 1. Our pleasure to welcome in our second intermission, now former Washington Capital and now a member of the Los Angeles Kings for the past week, Bob Carpenter. And Bob, first question, going back to the trade last week, surprised that the trade came on the deadline?
Yeah, I was really surprised. It happened so quick. I was at the rink till quarter-3. There was only 15 minutes left for a deal to be done. And when I got home, I found out I had to call, so it was a little bit disappointing, but it's been good to me so far.
Did you think that when the Rangers made the trade that they'd given you really an opportunity to feel at home, after all, after the layoff, going to New York, and obviously the pressure playing there?
Well, I think Phil Esposito right now, he wanted to win the Stanley Cup. He wanted to win it this year or next year, and they're in a position where they had to make the playoffs. I think that he wants to stay there for a while, and I wasn't playing that well. I was playing mostly on defense, and he needed an offensive player to help him get into the playoffs, and I think he thought it was a good deal because he wants to win the Stanley Cup either this year or next year, and he couldn't wait around for me to really start playing as well as I can.
My observations from ice level here tonight, you seem to be playing with a lot more confidence. The intensity, everything seems to be there, as opposed to maybe your first 2 visits in a Ranger uniform.
Well, I think it's the way you're being used, too. I don't think that I'm not in a defensive situation here. They're really letting me play, really letting me on the offense, and I'm really starting to really feel comfortable with the puck now. I think with New York, we might have 45 face-offs a game. 30 of them I would take in our own zone, and it's really tough to get some shots and to get playing when you're always fighting for the puck in your own zone. It's a long way to go. Now they're putting me in an offensive position with offensive players, and it's my game, and that's the way they're really letting me play.
Again, an observation on my part. I think it looks like the Los Angeles Kings teammates of yours, and we saw an incident in the pregame warm-up. It looks like they want Bobby Carpenter to feel at home.
They're good. They were really good. I had to thank Tiger for that after, and that's the type of player he is. He wants to win, and he'll do anything for his players, and you need players like that on your team to help you win.
All right, what about the Carpenter situation in Los Angeles now? Obviously, there was pressure in New York based on what happened here in Washington. How do you feel about playing on the West Coast and playing for the LA Kings?
Well, it's good. I think that it's going to be a little bit better for me. I have to think so anyway. I think that, in New York and even here in Washington, it's close to home, and there's a lot of discrepancies that always go on and disruptions and things like that. And with friends coming down and family and everything like that, you're always worried about tickets here or this, that, and the other thing. So I think out on the West Coast now, it's all hockey. I think that's all you have to think about. You don't have anything else to worry about, and you're there to play hockey, and you can't lose focus on what you're really there for.
All right. Other things to think about on the West Coast for other than maybe hockey fans. What about the fact that you can get away from the rink now and not think necessarily totally of hockey? Do you think that's going to be an asset to you?
I think that's really important. I think that after practice to go out and play 18 holes or go out and just go for a swim or something like that, it really helps you relax and takes your mind off the game. But they really stress that when you come to the rink, you have to be ready to play because they know how lackadaisical you can get there. So I think when you come to the rink, they make you get ready for the game, make you think about the game, and I think that's what we're being paid for, and we shouldn't have to be told to do that. We should come to the rink ready to play anyway.
All right, I know Bob Berry, when he was the coach of the Kings, and certainly Pat Quinn, the players were fine if they came to the rink with a suntan. Have you heard that in your week in Los Angeles?
No, that's no longer fine. I think that, what if you just happen to get able to get a tan from golfing all the time? It's a tough situation. I think they have their their ways of making sure you come to play the hockey. I think that's what you have to concentrate on out there, and I think it'll be a lot easier for myself.
In the long run, a last question. In the long run, do you think that things can now settle down for Bob Carpenter and he can put his past behind him? And if there's anything different, would you have done anything differently?
Well, no, I don't think so, because I think the way things happen are for the better. I think no matter what happens, even if things are happening really bad, then you have to sit down and take a look at it, and there's something that was done wrong. You have to learn a lesson out of things like that. Then you just make sure you don't go ahead and do it. I think everything happens for a reason, and this year was probably the worst year of my life. And I think that there's a lot of lessons I learned here and about growing up and being a person, and I think that you really have to take into consideration and be thankful that things like that happen, because I'm only 23. I have 12, 13, 14 years left in the league, and I'm just lucky to have learned them now.
All right, we appreciate your time, and we know that, Bob Carpenter, if you get down to playing hockey, there's very few players in the National Hockey League can play as well, and I know the Capitals, with all that's said and done, hopefully everything works out for everybody's best.
Well, I know it will. Thank you.
Bob Carpenter, our guest, and for visiting with us here tonight on Home Team Sports. In our second intermission, Bob will receive a gift certificate from Langway's Sports Bar, so when he gets back to Washington in the summer, he'll get a chance to go out and visit with some of his former teammates. Stay tuned, third period action upcoming. Los Angeles trail by 2. On Home Team Sports, we've completed 40 minutes of play and a couple of goals by Greg Adams. In fact, Adams' second marker, his 8th of the year, the only goal of the second period, and the Capitals in a key game here tonight leading the Los Angeles Kings by a score of 3-1 after 40 minutes of play. I'm Jeff Rimmer, and our conversation with Bob Carpenter, obviously a candid one. And again, we go back to our thoughts here based on his performance on the ice in the first 40 minutes of play. As Mike Fornes pointed out, particularly not the strong point of Carpenter's game tonight are the face-offs, but he is playing a little more intensity, a little more aggressiveness. He's had 5 shots on goal, and Carpenter, as he told us during the intermission, is feeling a little bit more at home in the Los Angeles Kings uniform. Obviously not feeling the pressures that were there playing for Esposito and the New York Rangers here in this division. Carpenter likely will look over the summer, look back, as he said, on the mistakes that were made, and hopefully he can turn his hockey career around back to where it was earlier on in his Washington Capitol career. We'll be back with third period action upcoming here on Home Team Sports. Stay tuned.
The Capitals have a 3-1 lead now over the Los Angeles Kings. We're at the second intermission here tonight on Home Team Sports. Mike Fornes and Al Koken welcoming you back once again to our hockey telecast. Well, the Caps get the only goal of the period, and a goal that at this point in the game I think they really needed, because now they have that 2-goal margin back. They let the Kings back in it with that goal by Bernie Nichols in the first period, but Greg Adams gets on the board for the second time tonight.
And in kind of similar position. It may look like a fluky play, but if Greg Adams is not there willing to go hard to the net, he doesn't get either of those 2 goals. And that's Greg Adams' game, and he's been successful. And a lot of credit, I think, has to go to Bob Mason. Talk about a goaltender maybe taking himself off mentally after letting a weak goal like he let in period 1. Instead, he came back and really made some key stops, as I thought the Kings played a solid second period, took the body, and they continue to fly and press the attack.
We'll see the goal here and show you exactly what we're talking about. This is Greg Adams' second of the night, 8th of the year from Smith and Miller at 13:51.
The Kings are complaining that people were in the crease, in particular Greg Smith. But you see, he's knocked down from behind. He slides into Melanson, and the puck is loose. Melanson wanted the whistle to be blown, then wanted an interference call, but neither case applies because Greg Smith is knocked down by an LA King player, which means his momentum carrying him into Melanson is legal. He's allowed to be in there because he's knocked down by a King player. Then if they want the whistle blown, the puck is not frozen. The puck is very clear to see. Mike Noah saw it, and Greg Adams was there to tap it in as Melanson's momentum carried him behind the goal line. Adams, second of the night, 8th of the year. Greg Smith with the big assist. Kelly Miller, who's playing center ice between Adams and Lachlan, also picks up an assist. The lone score coming at 13:51.
Shots on goal during tonight's second period favored the Capitals again, 12-11, 22-19 now on the night. Now, we talked about Carpenter's role in the faceoffs. Here's how it looks for the game between the two teams. The Caps holding just a slight advantage over Los Angeles in that area. Well, 20 more minutes to go. The Caps, remember, haven't beaten the Kings so far this season. Los Angeles owns victories not only here at the Capitol Center, but also out at the Forum in Los Angeles. So in the next 20 minutes, we'll find out if Washington is able to beat this team that many people always, when you read about them, refer to as the lowly Los Angeles Kings. They may make the playoffs. If they do, people are thinking it'll be just by default. Vancouver maybe has a chance to come in and catch them. We'll find out, but in 20 more minutes, the Caps will decide their own fate. They could really use the 2 points.
And they've got to worry about the Kings' ability to, when they open things up, be successful at it. You know, you can come back and burn the Kings if they open up too much, but they really don't need to send their defensemen that much because they've got 4 lines, and each line has a guy who can put the puck in the net. That's why the Kings are dangerous offensively.
Okay, Al, Jeff Rimmer standing by downstairs right now. Let's check in with Jeff.
Well, guys, you were talking in terms of the Los Angeles Kings fighting it out with the Vancouver Canucks for the final playoff spot out west. The Kings tonight start a 6-game road trip. They are not playing all that well on the road of late. They've lost 9 in a row. In fact, are winless in their last 10 road starts, and this starts a 6-game road trip. Do they make the playoffs? Well, this trip could go a long ways towards determining whether or not they do. Of course, the Capitals have a very key stretch with less than 3 weeks now left to go in the season. They've got a big game with the Penguins here Friday night. They've got one more game with the Flyers. In fact, the Flyers tonight leading the Rangers. That's their last start between those two teams heading into the playoffs. But we've got third period action upcoming. Let's rejoin Mike and Al.
Thank you, Jeff. The Kings have had 2 other road trips this year, which have been of 5 games in duration. And both of them resulted in 0-5 trips. No victories on the real long ones. Mike Noeth is ready to go at center ice. Gartner slaps the draw away from Jimmy Carson. It sails all the way back into the King zone, and Los Angeles has possession. Penalty about to expire here to the Kings bench. Phil Sykes serving it. He's on, and now 30 seconds of power play time for Los Angeles. Here's Taylor. Back to the point. Steve Duchesne tries to keep it in, but Gaetan Duchesne finds Mike Gartner out at center. Gartner takes it back into his own zone to kill off more time. He gives it off to Gaetan Duchesne. 10 seconds left in the penalty to Smith. Gaetan Duchesne ahead to Gartner. Goes into the corner. Short-handed. Cuts to the net. And has it blocked away by Roland Melanson. Penalty's over. Greg Smith is back after serving the 5-minute major. And now no one in the penalty boxes. Puck cleared all the way down the ice. This will be icing against Washington. Mark Hardy skates to the corner after it. There's the whistle.
It's a big plus that the Capitals have the 2-goal lead to take with them into this third period, because without Alan Howitt and Michael Pavanka, they are short-staffed on the lines, and thus the offense is going to be a bit of a problem without those 2 good scorers and playmakers. So you're in a situation where you almost have to have that lead. Now you can play a defensive game. You don't have to depend on people who normally don't score a lot of goals to come through for you if you were trailing. That's why those early goals were so big for the Capitals, to take that lead and be able to play a defensive-style game. We understand Howard is less seriously injured than originally thought, may play against Pittsburgh on Friday night, and the same goes with Michael Pavanka. He may return to the lineup, so that would be a tremendous plus, because the Penguins also are a team that can put the puck in the net with frequency. You may have to open things up against them if Mario Lemieux gets off to a wild night, as he is capable of.
Here's a slap shot by Hardy, but this is deflected up into the crowd, out of play. If anything, the Kings are fortunate in that the trade that was made sending Dion to New York for Carpenter happened at a point in the season where, I don't want to call it a babysitting job, but let's say the leadership and the tutoring role that he had taken over on behalf of Jimmy Carson and Luc Robitaille had probably seen its best days behind it. He had been a very good influence on them. Robitaille and Carson living right with Dion and with a neighbor next door, and Dion's house had become his own again, I think, just a few weeks before the trade.
You know, and at this point of the season, with Carson and Robitaille getting all the playing time they have had throughout the season, you really can't consider them rookies in that sense. I mean, certainly, technically, they are rookies, as this is their first year in the National Hockey League, but they played a lot of games, and they've been around the league a few times, and they now are much more mature. So they are able to get out there and get out of the nest, so to speak, on their own.
So they got as much out of Marcel Dion as they could during the time they spent with him. But the young birds must fly.
Yeah. Hey, one guy who's really going to miss Marcel Dion, though, is Brian Erickson. He was playing out there on right wing with Dion and Robitaille, and now without Dion, Brian Erickson is not getting near the amount of playing time with the LA Kings.
Dean Kennedy flips it ahead for Robitaille, and off his stick, the puck trickles back into the Washington zone. Gartner over to Rod Langway. Up to Dave Christian. Sends it all the way back inside Los Angeles ice. Hardy in a race for it. Gartner gets there first. No icing called. Kennedy has to play it now. Ridley's in trying to work it free. Sean McKenna jammed up against the corner boards. McKenna has it poked away by Dave Christian. He centers, and Thompson had it deflect off his stick right into Melanson's pad. Back in the corner, here's Kevin Hatcher. Jammed up by Kennedy. Robitaille behind the net for Hardy. Out to the blue line, and the Kings start the attack. McKenna dumps it in. Los Angeles wants a line change. The Caps will send out fresh players as well. Kevin Hatcher, too far for Jim Thompson. Taken over by Wells, back to center ice. Hatcher to Bob Gould. Ahead for Thompson to Duchesne. Gaetan Duchesne in the corner. Held against the sideboards. Hatcher keeps it in. It bounces to the corner. Now Jim Thompson tripped up in front of the net as he crossed in front of Jay Wells. Here's Bernie Nichols coming back to Ledyard. Fires and scores. Grant Ledyard cutting in, took a nice pass from Nichols and picks the top corner, beating Mason High on the glove side. And the Kings are back in this game, only one down now at 3-2.
Nobody for the Capitals picks up the trailer. That's Ledyard coming in from his defensive position to add bodies to this rush. Instead of just a 2-on-2, makes it a 3-on-2 situation. Watch how things get spread out. Nichols just carries it down the boards, and that opens things up right down the middle.
Assistant number 19, Jim
Grant
Fox.
Ledyard, who picks up goal
Time of the goal, 3:04.
number 13 on the season.
Los Angeles goal.
Talk about trades with the New York Rangers. Grant Ledyard is making last year's deal that brought not only Roland Melanson but himself to the Kings in exchange for Brian McClellan. Look like a real steal right now. McClellan not playing for the Rangers anymore, is out in Minnesota. Ledyard, far and away his best offensive season with 13 goals and 21 assists. And Roland Melanson, the #1 goaltender, playing great hockey the second half of the season. So the Kings are right here at 3-2.
Here's Hatcher. Up ahead on the right wing. Gartner breaks into the corner to get it. He's chased by Steve Duchesne. Throws it behind the net. The Kings come out. Tiger Williams on the right wing. Nichols across the line. Drops it to Williams. He scores. He blasted a bullet right past the stick side of Bob Mason. And Los Angeles has tied the game.
Well, that Ledyard goal has completely rattled the Capitals. Not in any kind of rhythm. Bob Mason letting this one go on the far side. Kevin Hatcher tries to go up the high rising drive, but that did not look like the type of shot that Bob Mason could not have stopped. The drop pass by Bernie Nichols. Tiger Williams cranks it. It's a hard drive. Looks like it goes almost under the arm of Bob Mason. And bang, bang, the LA Kings tied it up at 3.
Tiger Williams with his 15th of the year. Nichols and Fox again assisting. 3:23, the time of the goal. And in 19 seconds, the Kings have turned a 3-1 story into a 3-3 lockup. Mason kicks a rebound loose out front. Greg Adams. Over to Lachlan, back in his own zone for Murphy. Played by Mason off the boards. Now here's Nichols flipping it toward the net. Stevens moves it to the point. Nichols walks in again. He shoots and scores! Nichols gets this one, and the Kings move into the lead.
Unless Bob Mason is completely screened on this is another Bernie Nichols shot that certainly does not have a great deal of velocity. It's on net, but again, he's kind of flipping it. He's not even putting the A move on it. He's not bearing down with that wrist shot. He's just flipping it in front. Bob Mason looks like he's fighting the puck. Maybe from this higher angle, we'll see a number of people converge in front. There's some traffic there. Mason trying to clear the front of his net all by himself. Larry Murphy's back there, and you got 2 LA Kings there, and Pete Peters is into the game right now.
Nichols with his second of the night, his 26th of the year, unassisted at 3:34. Ledyard is 13th, Williams his 15th, Nichols his 26th. In the span of 30 seconds, the Kings have turned around a 3-1 Washington lead, and now Los Angeles owns a 4-3 margin. And that's going to be all for Bob Mason. Pete Peters comes in now, replacing Mason. On the season, Peters is making his 32nd appearance. He owns a 3.40 goals against average with a 1-loss mark of 13, 10, and 3 on the season. Peters played in St. Louis in that 3-3 tie against the Blues. The Kings will try to test him quickly. Here's Stevens with it behind the net. Moves it out of the zone to center ice. Peters roadblocks behind the goal, coming in without any sort of warm-up or any stretching to get ready. Gartner and Lukowicz push and shove. Here's Mark Hardy outside the line at center. Over to Kennedy. Now gives to Jim Carson. Carson across the line. Tries to get by Stevens. Centers. And Peters sticks it away. Gartner in the corner. Over to Mike Ridley. Dave Taylor knocking Gartner down on the play. Here comes Stevens to center ice. Right side for Ridley. Charges down the middle. A shot and a save made right in front by Melanson. And the Capitals finally get something going in the Los Angeles zone after the Kings had stormed the Capitals' net.
Well, is everyone ready to break the ice? Glide on over to Tucker Road Ice Rink. Tucker Road Ice Rink offers general skating sessions 6 days a week, group lessons for the entire family, and hockey clinics for basic skills, strategy, and sportsmanship. Tucker Road Ice Rink is located in Oxon Hill, Maryland. For more information, call 248-3124. Well, everything has changed right now in that 40-second span. Just in the 30-second span, excuse me. Just an amazing situation with Bob Mason letting in the soft goal early. And then I would say at least 2 of the 3, unless he was just so completely screened on that last one that he had no idea where the puck was coming, but not hard shots. Now the pressure certainly on the Capitals offensively, and Mike Ridley had the scoring chance there, but the advantage the Capitals had with being able to play a little bit of defense and hold on to the lead is no longer there. They don't have Pavanka, they don't have Howarth, as we talked about. They've really got to come up with some offense from people like Adams to continue on here tonight.
Here's a drive, kicked aside by Melanson, taken behind the net by Craig Laughlin. Laughlin of the Capitals. Taken away by Wells. The puck cleared outside the zone, and Adams has to go back and chase it. Now the play is called offside. Well, if you've been away for just a moment from your TV set and have just come back, this game has certainly turned around. The Caps led 3-1 coming into the third period. Grant Ledyard, with his 13th of the year from Nichols and Fox, hit at .304. At .323, Williams his 15th from Nichols and Fox. And then at .334, Nichols unassisted, his 26th of the year. Bernie Nichols with a 4-point night on 2 goals and 2 assists. Stevens lofts it into the corner. Here's Wells behind the net. Up the boards, Laughlin jammed up in the corner. Kelly Miller back to try and move it along. Play to the point. Murphy has it. He drives on goal. Adams a shot and a goal! Ago, Greg Adams was out with a collapsed lung. Tonight, he scores a hat trick, and the Capitals have tied the game at 4-4.
Larry Murphy does the job initially to keep the puck in. It's a hard drive, and a long rebound is allowed by Roland Melanson. He dives out to try and cover up. Adams holds onto the puck. Nobody in a purple uniform other than Melanson anywhere near him, and he makes the play. The first hat trick of Greg Adams' career. And boy, it couldn't come at a better time for Washington to get things tied back up at 4. We talk about getting goals from unexpected sources. Greg Adams showed he could score a little bit last year. He was a prolific scorer in junior hockey, but here he comes up in his finest moment in a Washington uniform.
The Kings' defense were nowhere to be seen for that rebound, and Greg Adams knew it. He headed straight for the net, picked it up as it bounced away off goalkeeper Roland Melanson's pad. And the Caps are back in this one now. We're all tied up at 4 goals aside. Here's a shot. Peters makes the save. Now Hatcher out to Gaetan Duchesne. Tiger Williams keeps it in. Langway knocks it down with a high stick. And finally the Capitals play it. And Gordy Brosiker was right there and ruled that the Caps had touched it first. The faceoff really should be at center ice. Mike Noeth blew the whistle to stop play, but Brosiker ruled that the Caps had allowed the Kings to touch it first. And usually when there's any sort of a dispute between the officials, or when an official makes a mistake, they'll face it off at center ice, and that's what I think should happen here.
The Capitals, thank you very much.
Crowd tonight, 12,210. 12,210 paid here at the Capitol Center. Well, the draw is going to be inside the line, so Mike Noeth has the last word. He is the referee for this game. Tiger Williams and Lou Franceschetti start to push and shove now as they jockey for position on the faceoff. It was a high stick play in which Langway had knocked it down with a stick held above the shoulder, meaning that when a Capitals player touched it, the whistle would blow. But the Caps waited, Bobby Gould waiting until the Kings were able to get possession. Franceschetti throws a hit in on the corner boards against Tom Laidlaw. Now here's Gould trying to dig it free. The Kings come out. Nichols, 3-on-3. Gets across the line, and Steve Duchesne well ahead of the play. Offside called against Los Angeles. There's a break in the action with a score. The Capitals 4.
13:43 left to go in the third period. Deadlocked at 4. Fans continue to prepare for Bob Carpenter's returns to the Capitol Center.
Here's Tiger Williams centering. Nichols picks the top corner. Pretty play for Los Angeles. And Bernie Nichols and Tiger Williams have really put on a show here tonight. The Kings are back in the lead at 5-4.
One of the rare mistakes Larry Murphy has made lately. He's got control behind the net and loses it. Loses it to Tiger Williams. He snaps it right out in front to Nichols, who really puts the steam behind that one. Picks a high corner. Murphy had the puck, let it bounce off the stick. Tiger Williams, who's been around the puck all night long in a forechecking capacity, feeds Nichols. And the hat tricks continue. This time it's for Bernie Nichols. And the Kings lead it one more time at 5-4.
6:27 the time of the goal. Tiger Williams, the lone assist on Nichols' hat trick goal, is 27th of the season. Dave Christian deflects it over the net. Now Gartner hammers it back to the corner. The puck cleared out of the zone and sent all the way back inside the Washington end. Scott Stevens back to take it. Icing is the call. Listen to the atmosphere right now in this building, Al. The other night in St. Louis, when the game was this close, the Blues fans had the Blues players so wired up, you thought they were going to skate right through the boards. This place is quiet tonight.
David Christian tried to do something to get the crowd back in it. The organist now playing. People starting to clap, but you're right, the noise level in St. Louis with over 16,000 people was deafening in a real close game. It seems like the LA Spurt is certainly taking the wind out of not only the Capitals, but the crowd as well. Most people just sitting around right now pretending it's Edmonton. Brian Erickson, who has not seen much ice time in this game, is out there now along with Bob Carpenter for the face-off in LA ice with Kelly Miller in there to take the draw. Adams and Lachlan, the wingers. Scott Stevens and Larry Murphy on the points.
$12:59 to go here in the third period. Kelly Miller leans in to work the face-off here for the Capitals against Bob Bourne. Kings get it. Here's Ledyard behind the net. Scoots away from Miller. Passes ahead to Bourne. Bourne to center ice. Dumps it back into the corner. Here's Scott Stevens. Right side for Lachlan. Moves it out to Miller at center. Played off the boards to center ice, and Stevens flags it down. Over to Larry Murphy. Phil Sykes tries to work it free, pushes it back into the Capital zone. Stevens behind the net. Up the boards now for Craig Lachlan. To Kelly Miller. Here's Miller to the red line. Dumps it back into the corner. Ledyard goes to chase it. Ahead for Sykes. Sykes to the center line. Shoots it in on net. The Kings change on the fly. Peters moves it ahead quickly for Lachlan. Back at the blue line, Steve Duchesne ties up with Mike Ridley. Duchesne to Lukowicz on the left wing. Cuts in. Greg Smith lines him up. The puck to the corner for Carson. Back of the goal. Here's Christian hanging on with Dave Taylor. Now Mike Gartner skates out. Gartner for Washington. Out to neutral ice. Lukowicz sends it back into the Capital zone. Ridley outside the line. The Kings are offside as Duchesne brings it back in. Let's check in downstairs right now with Jeff Rimmer.
Thanks, Mike. Let's check that Stroh's out-of-town scoreboard. Patrick Division rivalry. Rangers and the Flyers meeting for the third time this week. And the Flyers on a couple of goals by Tim Kerr, his 50th and 51st of the year, leading in the third period by a score of 2-0. We'd also like to point out that our next Home Team Sports telecast, the Caps next start here Friday night against the Pittsburgh Penguins. If you can't join us in person, there are tickets still available. Join us on Home Team Sports. Capitals report begins at 7:30. Back upstairs now for more of this third period.
Makes the situation here for the Capitals even more important if the Rangers go on to lose again tonight. They were beaten the other night by the Flyers. The Islanders, rather, lose last night to the Montreal Canadiens. So the teams in front of Washington have been giving the Caps a little bit of an opening lately. But you've got to take advantage against teams like L.A. L.A. gives the Capitals the problem, but is there any reason why you can shut down the Edmonton Oilers, but you can't do it for the L.A. Kings? There's got to be some intensity. The Capitals have shown it in spurts, but not consistently tonight.
Well, they've certainly let the Kings back in this game, and right now Los Angeles with a lead. Remember, the Caps led by 2 at the start of the third period and should have just put them away. Here's Gould, a shot, and a skate save made by Melanson. A rebound, and Bobby Gould again fires on the net. Outside the line, Smith and Langway to chase it back into the Washington zone. Langway behind the net to Greg Smith. Up the boards for Jim Thompson on right wing to Bob Gould. Thompson out to center. Nichols back into the Capital zone. Gaetan Duchesne starts ahead. Crowd starts to come alive here. Jim Thompson and Tiger Williams push and shove. The Kings come out. Hard hit by Kelly Miller on Jay Wells. Thompson again throws his weight around out there, and this time bumps Robitaille. Now here's Greg Adams with 3 goals in the game. Cuts to the blue line, and the play is called offside. Kelly Miller in a bit of an unusual situation in St. Louis the other night. Found himself in a little fistic roll.
The Blues were upset. They claimed that it was Miller who got everything started with Jocelyn Lemieux and should have been penalized a lot more than Jocelyn Lemieux.
It's offside, all right.
The puck was not completely over the blue line. Before, I think it was Miller on the other side of Greg Adams. So Kelly Miller was, his helmet certainly took a lot of punishment from Jocelyn Lemieux's fist. I don't know how much Kelly felt. Jocelyn Lemieux, who can throw him, was wailing away with the right hand. Connected a lot on the visor, a lot on the helmet.
Carpenter against Ridley. The Kings get the draw. Here's Wells. Right over to Christian, though. Dave Christian has it pushed away back to center ice. Stevens fires it back in. Gartner trying to pry it free from Wells' stick. And here comes Robitaille. Right side to McKenna. Back in the corner for Robitaille. Murphy ties him up. Carpenter's camped in front of the net. Here's McKenna. Throws it behind the goal. Robitaille checked off the play by Murphy. Ridley back there. Murphy tries to move it along and does. Carpenter puts it over the glass and into the seats.
On the last Los Angeles goal.
On the Kings goal by Nichols, Mark Hardy also picks up an assist. So it's Nichols on the hat trick goal from Williams and Hardy at 6:27.
Bob Carpenter playing a little bit of left wing in this third period. They played the first 2 periods at center ice and pumped 5 different shots at Bob Mason. But on a couple shifts, Mike Murphy had him out there at left wing with Erickson on the right side and Bob Bourne in the middle. On that last shift, he was out there at center ice in his usual spot with Luc Robitaille and Sean McKenna.
Gaetan Duchesne pushes it back to the blue line. Now here's Duchesne with a steal, cuts toward the net. Erickson had it deflect off his skate back to center ice. Kevin Hatcher in to retrieve. Hatcher starts to the red line. Tie up along the boards, and Franceschetti throws it in. Steve Duchesne behind the net, chased by Gaetan Duchesne of the Capitals, and the puck cleared all the way down. Peters stops it. Peters came on here in the third period at the 3:34 mark in relief of Bob Mason. Franceschetti and Hardy go to the corner after it. Hardy moves it ahead for Nichols. Outside the line to center. Stevens throwing a hit on Grant Ledyard. Dean Kennedy behind the goal starts out to center ice, and Gary Galley takes over now for Washington. Pass off Loughlin's stick. Lukowicz moves it back, and Greg Adams takes over now. Threw it outside the line, though, trying to drop the pass for Scott Stevens, and the play is called correctly offside. There's a break in the action with a score. The Kings 5. Kings scored 4 goals during a span of about 3 minutes. Offside here against the Capitals. Al, I guess that the intentional offside is just about gone out of the National Hockey League now.
Yeah.
With the players able to leave the zone, they can always claim that they were just waiting on their players to come back out, and you just never see that called.
That would be the time to call it, because no doubt Gary Galley knew everybody was in there and just blasted in, hoped to get a bit of a break. I think the way they've changed the offside rule this year is one of the best innovations in the National Hockey League in quite some time, because it has speeded up play, and it certainly doesn't cause any disadvantage for one side or the other. Everybody clears the zone, and you get a chance to do it. But that endless whistles and stopping the play, it's taken a lot of that out and has moved the game along quite a bit.
Here's a 2-on-1 for Los Angeles, but Lukowicz has the puck go to the board. He chases it, brings it back in front of the net. Gary Galley there for the Capitals. Starts ahead. In across the Los Angeles line, and Dean Kennedy plays it back on the wing. Scott Stevens shoots it back inside the Kings zone. Here's Adams out of the corner. Looks for Gartner in front. Can't get it centered to him, and it's played by Carson to the corner for Lukowicz. Now back to the point. Gartner a wrist shot. Blocked by Taylor. Into the corner goes Kelly Miller. Taylor flips it ahead. Outside the line it comes to Lukowicz, and Scott Stevens starts it back now to Gartner. Gartner to Stevens across the line. Behind the goal, here's Fox. Up the boards for Tiger Williams, and he sends it all the way out to neutral territory. Greg Smith bounces it back inside the Los Angeles zone, and quickly the Kings' Hardy sends it all the way down. Langway is back for the touch and the icing call.
Down to 6:51 in the third period remaining. The Capitals putting Mike Gartner out there quite a bit, double shifting him a little bit to try and get something going here in the 1-goal deficit. And don't forget, the Caps' next home game is this Friday night, the 20th, as the Caps host the Pittsburgh Penguins at 8:05. By the way, it's Thermal Mug Night. It's sponsored by Lawn Boy, and all fans in attendance receive a Caps mug absolutely free. You can get your Caps Penguins tickets, and we understand they're moving pretty well, so better get your call into ticket centers. Still have a few more minutes left to go. They close at 10 o'clock. 432-0200 phone charge number to give them a call. And ticket centers tomorrow, including all Hex stores, for the Capitals and Penguins at 8:05 this coming Friday night.
Still having trouble understanding, Al, why this crowd isn't doing more to get the Caps back in this game. It's a 1-goal hockey game. This game is not over. 6:45 to play here in the third period, and it's very quiet in here.
Maybe everybody was working with their fake Irish accents today, and they've got nothing left to give.
Fox at the line, but Langway takes over, brings it back now to Mike Ridley. Ridley across the blue line, looks for Loughlin in front. He finds Langway, a shot, a save by Melanson, and that one resting on the doorstep, but Rowley was able to cover it with his pads.
You don't see Rod Langway shoot that often, but when he does, it's a hard, low shot, and more importantly, it's usually right on the money. Square in front of Melanson. The play works out, and Rod Langway hammers a bullet. David Christian looking for a deflection, any kind of rebound. The key is getting this on net. Rod Langway will not fire like most defensemen from every place. He's usually looking to make the pass, but when he's got that room, he will put it on net with the best of them.
Langway back on the left point. Larry Murphy on the right. Up front, it's Ridley with Christian and Gartner. Gartner scrambles and gets the draw, but tosses it back. Langway had cut over to center point and has to move out to the red line to get the puck. Now he gives it up to Carpenter. Carpenter across the line. Bob Carpenter without a point in this game. Here's Murphy. Back to Langway. Dekes his way out. Shoves it past Christian all the way down. Grant Ledyard goes in after it. Into the corner. Gartner with a steal. A shot on goal. A save. A rebound to Ridley. And then off Mike Ridley's skate. It ends up under the pads of Melanson, who again squeezes.
Well, Mike Ridley has done a great job over the past few weeks. 5 assists in his last couple of games. He's got about 13 points in his last 8 games, but he's had a few close-in chances that he seemed to have misfired just a bit. There he tries to make the move and it rolls off his stick. He's had a couple of one-time opportunities that he hasn't been able to get away. He's had to settle it down and fire and allow the goaltender to recover. Certainly he's an outstanding offensive player, but in those situations, boy, you really get frustrated when you can't make the move you want.
From the draw, the puck goes over to the boards, and Gaetan Duchesne chasing, but Steve Duchesne clears it outside the line. Kelly Miller back to Kevin Hatcher. Lofts it in on the right wing. Bobby Gould to the corner. He bumps Steve Duchesne. Miller. Back of the net. Cleared out. Gaetan Duchesne out of the corner now with the puck. Takes it behind the net. Walks around. A shot. A save made by the pad of Melanson. Back into the corner. Here's Miller with it again. Miller centers and almost caught Stevens hustling in. And now in the pileup, the Los Angeles goal has been dislodged.
Boy, a good play by Bob Carpenter. He did see Scott Stevens sneaking in. Remember, he's a former Cap, and he's watched Stevens do that for years now, the way he comes in. Gaetan Duchesne and Gould, Miller all doing a good job down there to keep things going. Here's Gaetan Duchesne with the initial try. He skates around. Melanson just stands there and challenges him. Then when that puck comes out to the right of the screen, in will sneak Scott Stevens. But Carpenter recognizes it. And he see Carpenter at the top of your screen. He notices Stevens sneaking down and tries to hold Scott up and does a real fine job of back checking.
Still a one-goal hockey game. 5:14 to go. I really like the play of Steve Duchesne, Al. He's a hustler. He's out there all the time, getting into things, involving himself in the play. He's been careless around the blue lines a lot. Seems like he doesn't really know where his wingers are some of the time, but I like his play in his own end.
Strong kid, willing to throw the weight around, and he's got 11 goals, so he can be an offensive threat as well.
Taylor goes to the corner. Gives it off to Dean Kennedy, and now it's sent all the way down the ice. Peters stops it at the side of the net. No icing. Larry Murphy behind the goal to start out. Capitals trail 5-4 the score. 4:40 to go, third period. Lachlan across the line. Over to David Jensen. Back to Craig Lachlan. Wrist shot. Glove saved by Melanson. And he hangs on. Didn't like Greg Adams being in so close, but it was not anything intentional.
David Jensen now getting a little ice time in this third period at center ice between Lachlan and Adams. Kelly Miller moved back to the checking line with Gould and Duchesne, trying to shut down that Nichols line. It's been so dangerous tonight. Greg Adams with 3 of the 4 Washington goals, trying to get number 4 there in front of the net. You can see what Melanson took exception to. Watch the way the stick comes back from Greg Adams to the back of the head. I'm surprised you didn't see Lukowich go a little at Adams with a little more vengeance there, getting the stick up on the goaltender.
Rowley seems to have found a home with the Kings. Of course, had been with the Islanders as part of the Islanders' 3 goaltender system for a while when they had Billy Smith, Kelly Hrudey, and Roland Melanson. And then I was like a lot of people. I thought Billy Smith would be the guy that would go, and they would keep Melanson and Hrudey. And that's not the way Bill Torrey did it. Melanson went to Minnesota and was not happy there before coming to the Kings. Here's Ridley. Left side pass off the skates of Gary Galley. The Kings recover. Carson charges across the line down the middle, and Ridley bats it away in front. Galley starts ahead to Dave Christian. At the blue line, Christian tries to hold up as Gartner was waiting on the wing too, but the Capitals are offside on the play.
Bernie Nichols line out there. Out comes Bob Gould. Miller resuming his duties on right wing. He'll be the guy jostling around with Tiger Williams, who has been a real pest tonight. Not only in the physical presence, but Tiger's forechecking. You remember that big assist on the goal that has put L.A. ahead. So Kelly Miller has to keep an eye on Tiger Williams. You can't not take Tiger Williams for granted. You know he's a tough guy, but he's a veteran. He knows how to get in there and help out his teammates in those corners. Bernie Nichols has been the beneficiary tonight of some good Tiger Williams work.
Jim Fox steals back at his own line over to Ledyard. Now back to the Washington zone. Here's Galley with Langway. Out to Kelly Miller. Sent back into the Kings end, and Bobby Gould racing in trying to pry it free. Pile up in the corner. Gould is knocked down on the play on a hard hit from Ledyard. Miller tries to shoot it back in, but the puck had come out of the zone, and the Capitals are offside. Well, Buffalo is underway at Calgary tonight. Barrasso against Lemlin. New Jersey at Edmonton. Billington against Andy Moog. Chicago at Minnesota. It's Bannerman in goal against Beaupre for the North Stars. Jeff Rimmer will have all the scores for you on our postgame show.
Scott Stevens did not agree with the call of Pat DiPuzzo, but our replays tonight has certainly backed up DiPuzzo's close line calls.
Those are tough to make when you're on the other side of the rink, looking through all the legs and all the skates. Here's Ledyard out to center. Stevens goes right side, too far for Gartner. Tiger Williams takes it behind the net. Up the boards for Fox. Now Nichols on the right wing. Goes in on Murphy. And Christian sends it out to center, but it hops past Gartner all the way down. Played by Melanson, no icing. Williams turns it out to center ice. Murphy with the puck. Williams sends it back into the Capital zone. 2:50 to play, third period. Kings on top by a goal, 5-4 the score. Larry Murphy out to Mike Ridley. Dumps it back into the corner. Here's Ridley. Again, the Kings clear the zone. Stevens sends it in. Offside is the call.
And again, Pat DiPuzzo makes the call from the other side of the ice. No argument this time, though, from Scott Stevens. It's amazing. Still a one-goal hockey game. 2:32 left to go. People just continuing to stream to the exits.
I feel like I'm in a theater. Like they're waiting to watch the end of a mystery. Not a hockey game. The crowd would get involved. It might get this team going. The puck to the corner, and here's Laughlin to play it. Carpenter manages to clear it out, and it sails all the way down back inside the Capitals' end. A race for the puck here. Hatcher unable to get to it. The icing is not called. Buttsy Erickson was there first. Now Carpenter plays it back to center ice. He hits Erickson with a pass. A slap shot wide of the net. Off the boards out to center. Franciscetti and Sykes tangle. Long shot by Hatcher on goal. Melanson the save. Now Hardy. The puck bounces back inside the Capital zone, and here again is Greg Smith. 1:40 to play in regulation time. The Caps looking for the equalizer here. They had a 2-goal lead to start the third period. A steal by Miller, a shot, a save made by Melanson. Loose puck in front of the net, and finally the Kings clear it out. The Caps with a golden opportunity there as Kelly Miller strode in, but Melanson stayed low and had that stick down where it needed to be. Here's Gary Galley. Throws it out to center, but Lukowicz dumps it right back in. Pressure definitely on the Capitals. Here is Gould. We're in the final minute of play in the period. Out of the net comes Peters. The sixth attacker's on. Melanson makes the save and leaves it for Ledyard. He sends it all the way out to center ice. Franciscetti with a hit on Carson. The puck goes wide of the net. But Fox beats Galley to it. No icing call. The Kings could score an open net goal here. Finally, Gould bats it out to center ice. Off a stick for Franciscetti. He cuts in. Jams up in the corner, and the puck cleared back to center. Played out to the blue line, and Stevens carries it in offside. That'll stop the clock with 26 seconds to go here in the third period. And a face-off in neutral ice. The Caps have Peters out of the net, and they trail the Kings 5-4.
Jimmy Fox and Brian Erickson in the last 2 minutes have made outstanding plays to wave off icing calls against him by hustle. Erickson beating Hatcher earlier than Jimmy Fox just a few moments ago. Comes down there, not only gets the icing call waved off by coming down and getting the puck first, but sets up a scoring opportunity with the open net. But the great opportunity for Kelly Miller. Watch Melanson keep the stick down low, drags the body down, does not give any serious opening between the legs. That's where Miller tried to go. Good goaltending again. Watch the way he puts that stick down to really cover up down low. When Miller is in that tight, he knows there's very little room to pick it up. So Roland Melanson puts as much body and stick down on the ice to keep everything low. An outstanding save by Roland Melanson at a key time. And that's the difference in this hockey game. The Caps did not get sharp goaltending from Bob Mason, while Melanson, though beaten 4 times, there were a lot of them were close in and pester goals in front. He's come up with the big saves when needed.
Here's Larry Murphy. The Capitals' net is empty. Fires it off the stick of Gartner, but Wells sends it right back into the Washington zone. Time running out on the Caps. 10 seconds to go. Here's Murphy behind the net. Passes too high for Gartner. Nichols sends it off the boards. 5 seconds left. Stevens back in his own zone. He can't clear it. And the Capitals draw boos from this crowd here as they are beaten tonight by the Los Angeles Kings 5-4. The Kings sweep the season series over Washington 3-0. The Capitals not accustomed to that. They had won the last several season series against LA before being swept in this one here in 86-87. The Kings add 2 more points. They now have 62. The Capitals stay at 69 in the Patrick Division race. And Jeff Rimmer will update us on the situation around the National Hockey League with the out-of-town scores and the standings matchups. And the Capitals lose a tough one here that they really had no business losing. They were in the lead 3-1 going into the third period. And Los Angeles shows a lot of spunk and some big performances from Bernie Nichols, who had a hat trick tonight with 2 assists, and Tiger Williams, who is on the score sheet with a goal and assist, but just did a marvelous job of harassing the Capitals at both ends of the ice. And some key performances by some other players like Jimmy Fox, who also had 2 assists and played a fine game out there for the Los Angeles Kings. A hat trick for Greg Adams tonight, but in a losing cause as the Kings win 5-4. Jeff Rimmer standing by downstairs right now with a man who's certainly my star of the game tonight, Tiger Williams. Jeff?
Thanks, Mike. Tiger Williams, certainly one of the strong Los Angeles Kings, and a come-from-behind victory. And Tiger, the Kings have had some trouble on the road this season. You break a 9-game losing streak with a pretty big win here tonight.
Well, I think we've played well against the Capitals all year. We beat them 3 times, and 2 coming in tonight's game, and I don't see any reason why we shouldn't come. We play well in here, and we played well on the road, and things haven't gone that well for us. In the first period, I thought we were all over, and myself, I was in once in the first, once in the second, and I had a breakaway again in the second, and we just haven't had any luck. And tonight we got a few bounces, and things went our way. It was a good game.
What about the trade now? What does that do for this LA Kings hockey club?
Which trade?
Which trade?
Well, I think it was a shocker, but Marsh is gone, and we think, I believe, myself, I'm going to help Carpenter get back to a 50-goal form, and Tom Laidlaw is very steady, played very steady tonight, and we needed that on defense because of our injuries we got with Playfair and Langevin and Redmond, and so they come up big for us. And Carpenter's got a lot of ability, and things just haven't went well for him this year, but we're going to make sure he finishes strong, and I think he'll be a big part of the LA's organization, and I'm going to make sure of that.
Tiger, I know you go out of your way to help some of these younger players in the National Hockey League. We can talk in terms of your character. You certainly got a reputation around the National Hockey League. But to me, my way of thinking, I saw Bobby Carpenter play with a lot more confidence. You try to set the tone even before the game with some of the hecklers?
Well, yeah, we had one jerk that was all over Bob tonight, and you don't do that to somebody on my team. I don't care if you're in the fans or not. And we straightened him out right away. And you know, and fans are there to yell, but to yell obscenities and to yell very ignorant things, you know, is stupid. Especially, you know, here's Carpenter, one of the first American kids to ever score 50 goals, and he comes back to the capital of this game with us Canadians controlled, and you got, you know, some American jerk treating his own countrymen like a dirtbag. You know, the guy was an ignorant thing, and we straightened him out, and I think that really helped Bob tonight.
All right, good luck to the LA Kings. Hope you make the playoff.
Thank you. We're in the playoffs for sure, Jeff.
All right, Tiger Williams, the outspoken as always, and certainly one of the big players in tonight's hockey game. Big win for the Los Angeles Kings. Certainly a tough loss for the Washington Capitals, who skated onto that third period ice with a 2-goal lead, only to lose a tough one here. And they failed to gain any ground, as we'll take a look at the National Hockey League standings and a golden opportunity to move up here in the Patrick Division. Stay tuned. Our post-game show will continue here on Home Team Sports. The Los Angeles Kings skate off the ice with 2 more points and move up on the Canucks. Here on Home Team Sports, and our post-game show continues. Welcome back. I'm Jeff Rimmer. A very tough loss tonight for the Washington Capitals as they skated out onto the ice in that third period with what they thought was a pretty good cushion, a 2-goal lead, and obviously a couple of soft goals brought this LA King Hockey Club back to life, and they start a 6-game road trip with a 5-4 victory. We pick up the action in the third period with the score 3-1, and the second Los Angeles King goal, Bernie Nichols, who scored the first goal, setting up the second one here as he feeds Grant Ledyard, who beats Bob Mason for his 13th of the year. And just 19 seconds later, we have a tie hockey game. Kings tie it almost from the identical spot. Our post-game guest, Tiger Williams, with a big goal here tonight. He takes a pass from Bernie Nichols and lets a drive go. And that beats Bob Mason. We're all tied up here 3-3 early in period number 3. But the Kings aren't finished. 3 goals in 30 seconds. A flurry here 11 seconds after the last goal by Williams. And we have the Kings going from 2 goals down to 1 ahead. Bernie Nichols, his second of the night and his 26th of the year. As he pulls the trigger, Mason really shaken here by those quick goals. Another shot that he likely should have had. And the Los Angeles Kings have a 4-3 lead. But the Caps, at least at this point, not about to give up. They come back to tie the score as Greg Adams gets his 9th of the year and completes the 3-goal hat trick. The shot by Murphy, the rebound. Adams with a good move to get around Roland Melanson, and he beats him for the game-tying goal. And it looks like the Caps are going to get right back in this hockey game and perhaps regain the lead. But Bernie Nichols scores what proves to be the game-winning goal on a feed from Tiger Williams. In the slot, Nichols moving in, and he pulls the trigger for his 27th of the year, completing the 3-goal hat trick. And the Los Angeles Kings start a 6-game road trip successfully for the third period comeback as they score 4 goals and win the hockey game by a score of 5-4. Busy night of the National Hockey League, and all 6 games in addition to the one here tonight at the Capitol Center. And the big game involving Patrick Division rivals, the Flyers, leading the Rangers by a score of 3-1 in the third period. Tim Kerr has a couple of the goals, his 50th and 51st of the year. The Red Wings on a couple of goals by Sean Burr, leading the Boston Bruins by 2. They also in period number 3. Edmonton, Paul Coffey has one of the goals. Kent Nielsen has the other. 1-0, or first period, it's 2-0 in favor of the Edmonton Oilers. Buffalo and Calgary are tied by a score of 1-1. We'll get to that one in a minute. Chicago and Minnesota tied 3-3 in the second. Now Buffalo and Calgary tied 1-1. And we have the Quebec-Vancouver game, a late start on the West Coast. In fact, that one should be getting underway here in the next few minutes. And we've got a final for you in the NBA tonight. The Bullets losing to the Atlanta Hawks. The Atlanta team very, very difficult on their home court at the Omni. And it's 118-98, a final score. Atlanta over the Washington Bullets. But a tough loss here for the Washington Capitals as they attempted to gain some ground and get back to 500 in the Patrick Division. And they skate off the ice, having lost not only the hockey game tonight, but having been swept by the LA Kings in the 3-game series this season. For more post-game comments, we head back to the other side of the ice and make the long climb back upstairs and rejoin Mike Thorns and Al Koken. Gentlemen.
All right, Jeff, thanks very much. And this was certainly a tough loss for the Washington Capitals in many ways. The most distressing, I would say, would be, first of all, the Caps had this game. They were ahead 3-1 going in the third period. You don't let a team like the Los Angeles Kings back in it, and that's exactly what they did. And the way that it happened, I think, was to the second point, which was there was a big problem tonight in goal.
No question about that. You look at the saves Rolly Melanson made. He came up with key saves. Greg Adams had some goals against him, but one was a bounce off the boards. The other one he's pushed into the net, has got no chance to get it. So you can't say that he really was a sieve in letting in 4 goals. He made outstanding saves, 31 saves, and Bob Mason did not. You saw again on those replays, again with that glove waving at one, the other one, the confusion between him and Kevin Hatcher. You got to get the good goaltending in these games, in particular when you're protecting the lead. If you don't have the goaltender making the routine save, you've got nothing else going in front of you. Capitals at least came back and tied it, but a giveaway, Larry Murphy losing the puck, and Tiger Williams, who was a pest all night, got it to the hot man, Bernie Nichols, and that was the story in the game. But you hit it right on the head. They got to have better goaltending down the stretch if you're going to come up and stop teams that put a lot of shots on. You're going to get a team like L.A., they're going to pour shots on you. You just have to make those saves.
The Kings certainly had players who played well tonight, and Tiger Williams making a key point, I thought, in talking about what happened before the game and how fans here at the Capitol Center probably spurred Bobby Carpenter on to playing a better game because of that ridiculous incident that took place during the warm-up tonight. To finish up on the goaltending, Mason played 43 minutes and 34 seconds and stopped 19 shots, but allows the 4 goals against. Peters appears for 16 minutes of the game tonight, yet gets the loss. He gave up the game-winning goal and made 3 saves. Melanson in 60 minutes made 31 stops and allowed 4 goals against. His record is now 14, 18, and 6 on the season for the Los Angeles Kings. On the plus side for the Caps, Greg Adams certainly back in full form. The lungs no problem tonight as he had the hat trick.
No, in fact, maybe he was feeling it in the lungs because he really was working. He was one of those guys up there digging, working hard in front of the net. But when you can shut down the top line of Gartner Ridley and Christian on the other side, without Pavanka, without Howarth, the Capitals are thin. That's why it looks so good having that lead. They're in a good position that they don't have to open things up. But once L.A. turned it around and the Capitals did have to put some offense, they just don't have the firepower without Pavanka and Howarth in the middle on those second and third lines.
More tests coming. The Capitals will face the Pittsburgh Penguins here on Friday night, and then the Boston Bruins come calling for a game on Sunday afternoon. That's the story tonight from here at the Capitol Center. Tonight's game was brought to you by Stroh's Beer and Stroh Light. Now you're talking good times, and Stroh's is spoken here. And by All-Star Dodge, Maryland's #1 Dodge retailer with 5 locations to serve you. And by your local area Subaru dealers. Subaru, inexpensive and built to stay that way. The executive producer of Home Team Sports is Jody Shapiro. Tonight's game was produced by Bill Brown and directed by Sheldon Schemmer. Our chief engineer is Ernie Fingers. The Home Team Sports Limousine is courtesy of Diplomat Limousine and Livery Service of Silver Spring, Maryland. Hex is the headquarters for Hager, the official clothier of Home Team Sports. Until next time, this is Mike Forns for Al Koken and Jeff Rimmer saying thanks for watching and so long from the Capitol Center, where tonight it's the Los Angeles Kings 5 and the Washington Capitals 4. Be sure to stay tuned to HTS for Post Time from Laurel following next. Tomorrow night on HTS, it's professional boxing from Atlantic City at 7:30. We'll all return Friday night when Mario Lemieux and the Pittsburgh Penguins take on the Capitals live at 8 p.m. Our broadcast coverage gets underway at 7:30 with the Capitals Report live with Jeff Rimmer. Washington Capitals Hockey is a presentation of Home Team Sports, the channel you cheer for.
You've got to stop these personal calls. You've got a job. I noticed the green.
Well, this
Very
is a
nice.
Bullets press pass.
Oh,
it happened to be
very
green,
apropos,
and
yes.
this was from the florist down the
carnation.
street.
Yes.
Nice tie here. This is one of those kind of ties that you get from some in-law or a friend or somebody, and you can wear only once, folks.
See that?
Can
little...
you see the little? Oh,
Yes.
isn't that
Isn't that cute?
Great.
Thank you. Well,
Yeah.
once a year, and that's enough, too.
Is it from a special person, or did you buy this on your own?
I
or
just
is
got
this-
it on my own.
Nobody bothered to buy
Little
it?
short green man sold it to me. So.
Okay, Martians.
Guess
Oh, I've
that.
got the list of teams Bobby Carpenter's played for this year.
Wow.
Yeah, you might want to check that out.
Do
He's
some
moved
light
around.
reading while you're doing that. Thank you. Thank you.
Sure. Greg Adams had the hat trick. Not enough. They lost to the Kings 5-4. Take a look. And welcome back, Bobby, again and again. I mean, he came back with the Rangers. Now he's back with the Kings. Bob Mason was in goal, and he had his problems. So watch Bernie Nichols score on him. Look at this puck. It hardly travels. Just trickles in. He thought somebody would stop it. Didn't happen. Caps actually had a 3-1 lead second period. Greg Adams got his second goal of the night. Watch, the puck actually kicks off of a skate. Look at there. Look at the puck. And the skate is Luc Robitaille's skate, and kicks it in. Adams gets credit for the goal. It was 3-1 Caps in the third, but not for long. Grant Ledyard scores. Not done. Tiger Williams scores. Bernie Nichols scores. He had a hat trick. There were 3 goals in 30 seconds by the Kings. That's unheard of. 3 goals in 30 seconds, and they go on to beat the Caps 5-4. Greg Adams did have the hat trick. Caps record now 30-32-9. Next game Friday against Pittsburgh at the Capitol Center, New York. After the game tonight, he talked about playing against his old teammates.
Just stuck it to him. It was a good game for us. The guys played great and come out with 2 points. It's a little different. I mean, you feel for the guys. A couple of times you can really get a chance to, I mean, really hurt, really give them a great check, maybe hurt them. But, you let off because you don't want to hurt them because you know them and things like that. And sometimes it can cost you. But the guys in Washington are great guys, and they've been really good to me. It's been a long year, but I think I finally found the place where I'm going to play well. I think they're great guys here. They're really team-oriented. And
to go, Bobby Carpenter skated out onto the Capitol Center ice in his 3rd different uniform in this 1986-87 National Hockey League season. Now wearing the uniform of the Los Angeles Kings, Bobby Carpenter, the former #1 draft choice of the Washington Capitals, leading his Los Angeles Kings teammates onto the Capitol Center ice.
Thought you want to know how to make money the easy way.
I like
How
that,
inconsistent are the Washington Capitals this year? Consider, if you will, this. The Capitals have beaten the Edmonton Oilers 3 times. On the other hand, from that same division, the Capitals have lost 3 times to the LA Kings. Tonight, the Caps blow a 3-1 lead. They lose 5-4. Let's go to the Cap Center. First period, the Capitals in white. They already lead 1-0 in the center of your screen. That's Kelly Miller, who spins, turns, shoots, and scores on Rolly Melanson. That quick, the Capitals with a 2-0 lead. But when this goal was scored, now that's Bernie Nichols at the top of your screen, just passing the puck. It goes right past Bob Mason. Ooh is right. It was 2-1. So when there was a pileup in front of the net, it would first be Greg Stevens who would come in, or Greg Smith, rather. Smith goes into Melanson. Greg Adams has got the puck there. He puts it across the line. 3 goals for Greg Adams. He had a 3-goal hat trick night. The Capitals with a 3-1 lead. But then, in the 3rd period, the Kings trail 3-1. Grant Ledyard with a shot right on goal past Mason. It's 3-2, and you say, well, all right, he didn't look too good on that one, but it'll get better. 19 seconds later, it gets worse. Dave Tiger Williams will score his 15th goal of the year past Mason, who was froze. I mean, he was just simply